Hey, YouTube. Let's do this. And hey, everybody, welcome to Squash Talk. I'm Pat. How are you guys doing tonight? What's going on out there in the squatchy land world of things of all squatchiness, if you will? Um, hey, what's up, Cindy? How you doing? Curious Cat, what's up? Neon Moon, what's going on? Blah 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 blah. Tracy, how you doing? Brian and Chewy, go hiking. You been hiking with Chewy lately? What's going on? Cindy, how you doing? Good to see you. Dennis, what's up, man? What's up, Dennis? I'm not sure I've seen you before. We're glad you're here. Alan, also, Alan. Yeah, time for a hot coffee and kickback. Good. Yeah. Glad you're here. Ernie, the other Ernie. What's up, buddy? How you doing? And yeah, Jeff's here. What's up, Jeff? And Squatch Bait's here as well. What is TSNL Y1? Welcome to the show. Glad you're here. Anybody else I missed? I'm sure 1,000 people. Right? Literally. So, and of course, everyone's main man, Lockbeard, able to come in here on his normal YouTube presence. What's up with that? I thought you got banned again, Lockbeard. Like, I'm not sure what's going on. And Joe, what's up, Joe? I was thinking about you today, Joe, because I watched Mog's show today. I had an opportunity to catch up and watch Mog's show that I did not catch on St. Patty's Day last night, I guess. And you were on there the whole time, and it kind of made me. It was thought provoking. Some of the things you said. I wanted to have a conversation with you. So if you want to jump in, Joe, it's a free for all. It's a free for all tonight. So you can jump in, bro. Kevin, what's up? How you doing, Kevin Morrison? Good to see you here. Glad you're back. He doesn't. What? Timmy boy? What? Who doesn't? Who doesn't know what? So Lockbeard clarified. He says, I can chat, but I can't post videos. Roger that. God, you know, oh, that kills me, dude. Like, what are you getting timed out for in YouTube? Like, it must be some, trigger words. But I mean, again, not to be offensive, I have a small channel. I don't have a big channel. I have a small channel. So do you, Lockbeard. You also have a small channel. We both have small channels. How the hell are you getting banned for what? Like, it's not like you're, reaching 5 million people with some kind of, whatever. Whatever, man. The First Amendment applies. It should always apply. I don't care if you're reaching 5 million people. You can say what you want as long as, it's not threatening. Just it kills me. Sorry. Anyway, and I will, Joe. Just give me a minute. It just kills me, man. Like how Lockbeard can get timed out in YouTube. Oh well. that's the world we live in. These are the. I mean, I'm on YouTube right now, so I'm dealing with these that company as we speak. Google, basically. Um, so how's everybody doing? What's going on? Let's talk. It's a free for all kind of night. We can talk about anything. Anything squatch. And maybe we'll shift gears at some point. Who knows? True story, Cindy. True story. Reporting. Reporting? What? You're going to report me? Brian and Chewy? Go hiking? You're going to. What? You're going to report me for what? Nope. Tracy, I am a Pisces. Pisces. Fish in the water. I'm a Pisces. Fish in the water, swimming around in the Bigfoot waters. See? See how that works? Hey, Lockbeard. Hey. Stop yelling at me. Lockbeard. Stop yelling at me. Or I'm gonna I get Squash Baby. Get him out of here.
No way.
Get him out of here. He's yelling at me. Oh yeah, Graz? What's going on in Kiev? Kiev. I can tell you what's not going on in Kiev. A bunch of Russians taking over the place. That's what's not going on there. And never will be. There you go. That's all I have to say about that. Well, I mean, we'll give him a. Obviously, he likes chewies. You don't have a chewy for him. Like, give him a chewy. I mean, I got Petey over here. He's barking his head off. So, I guess the show's. So, yeah, I have no internet, and we're doing this off of Squatch Bait's phone. Believe it or not. What's up, Jorge? How you doing, bud? Haven't seen you in a minute. Hope you're well. Glad you're here. Good to be here. Wait. Okay. Let's see. Kiev webcams. Nothing going on. Yeah. Yep. No Russians parading around Kiev, or Kiev, however you're supposed to say it. I don't know. I don't speak Prussian. Well, a little bit. But not fluently. All right, cool. Beer's cracked, so good. Wait, hey, what? Huh? That's funny. I don't know. Like, it's one of those things. It's like, I think it turned into a regional discussion about how to pronounce it. And then that got to the media, whereas it was, since the 80s, Kiev. But I think that was the Russian way of saying it. And believe it or not, like, Ukrainians have their own dialect or even language. I think they have their own language. Pee. And so, that turned into Kiev. No, we say it Kiev. And so that's how that happened. Niet. Which basically means no. Yeah. So, yeah. Jorge summed it up in text, basically what I just said. Whiskey bourbon blend. Oh, no. Yeah, I don't want to get in. I mean, dude, I'd love to do a show. That's a Sunday show. A Sunday show, we can all jump on here and talk about that war. I have thoughts, but it's Friday night. I missed Tuesday, and I missed the Tuesday before that. So I've only done like one show in 2 weeks. And so I'm going to keep it on the Bigfoot subject. Sorry, guys. I mean, we can talk Kiev and Ukraine and the war all you want on Sunday. Like, if you're cool with that, I'm cool with that. We can have that discussion. Well, thank you. I'm glad somebody did. All right, so I'm having fun with you guys. It's fun. I'm gonna keep bouncing off you guys. I just gotta check a couple of things here. This. Oh wait, did I do that? I don't know if I did it already. Hold on. Sorry. I'm doing producer stuff because I have no producer anymore. Wait, what? What, TN? I don't quite understand that. Start with LeBlanc wanting to grab a Sasquatch. I don't know who LeBlanc is. I don't know. I don't know what that means. And what do you mean, grabs? Where's Jeff signed in? Pine Island Research is his YouTube channel. So, Jeff, if you're still watching, you're still in chat. I think Graz is asking like what your handle is here. Pine Island Research. Wait, is LeBlanc one of the cast members? One of the principal cast of that horrible show, Expedition Bigfoot? Who cares? Yeah. Irrelevant. Irrelevant. All right, so let's do this. Yes, I can. It is a free-for-all, by the way, guys and gals. So anything goes. Bigfoot. If you want to come on here and explain whatever, cool with it. I've lost my place in the universe. There I am. What? Like who? Oh, yeah. I think you're talking about, okay, Jeff. Yeah. No, I said he might. I reserved all judgment. Sorry, I couldn't help that. No, I'm trying to have fun here. I probably will shoot Jeff a link here pretty soon. But first, and no audio.
What's up, man?
Yeah, there's the audio. Yes. Oh, thank God. I got worried for a second there.
Yeah. Hey, what's going on, man? I ain't talked to you in a while.
What's up, Joe? How you doing, bud?
Oh, not much, man. Hey, look, you know what? There's been a lot that's been said about me, man, but I don't think thought-provoking was at the top of the list. So awesome. Thanks. I'm glad I could provoke some thought, man.
Well, you did.
That's always good.
You did.
Well, that's cool.
Only because, I mean, whatever, dude. I was kind of casually watching what I was watching, and that was you on. That was, well, it was Mog's show
Right.
last night, right?
Yeah.
And I was just casually kind of like paying, I had it on, had it in the earbuds. I was just paying attention to it. But yeah, there was a couple of times where you started talking, and it really piqued my interest. I don't know. You just kind of said things in a way that I had never really heard you say it before. About them.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh,
absolutely.
Well, that's good, man. I mean, I'm impressed that I was able to do that because I know absolutely nothing about them.
Only what you observed. I mean,
that's it. That's it. That's it. That's it.
Yeah. To be fair, like,
and I know they leave big footprints when they leave them. That's all.
Yeah,
I know.
Well, to be fair to you, okay, I would say like what you have to say about them is based on your observation.
Yeah, that's about it. Yeah,
but that's relevant. What you observed is actually very relevant. So if anybody was to take you for your word, right?
Yeah.
And seriously,
you kind of have to do that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm just being fair.
Yeah, and if somebody doesn't, I understand why. I get it. But
yeah, but it's okay if they don't, like, whatever. I'm not even trying to get into that angle of things. Yeah. All I'm saying is, if somebody's taking you for your word, what you saw that day, you seem to be really, really perched on the hypothesis, if you will, of Homo erectus.
Yeah. I could be wrong, but yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. There's a lot of different reasons why, but and none of which I can really test all that. So, I don't know how good of a hypothesis it is really, but because other than finding Homo erectus remains somewhere, to prove that they got to this continent.
Right.
I mean, but
Sure.
again, as we always say, absence of evidence isn't evidence of absence. Just because there's no fossils found so far, which fossilization, I can harp on this a lot, all the time, man. Fossilization is a very rare thing, actually.
Extremely.
And so just because they didn't leave fossils behind doesn't mean they didn't make it here. It makes sense to me that Homo sapiens made it here. All kinds of other animals made it here. They made it everywhere else in the world, including islands. So why wouldn't they have made it here? It's a guess on my part.
No, it's okay. You know what? I mean, look, just to give you a little bit of like or a lot of leeway on what you're saying, or what you might think, let me ask you a few questions, Joe.
Sure.
Why is that cat in my shot? Hey, you just ruined the shot.
She's like that, man. She's like
you
that.
just ruined the shot. All right.
Damn
All right.
cat.
Thanks everybody for watching. Joe.
Good night.
No, so how many fossils of so let's see, elk that so elk that run around the northern latitudes of the Americas, how many fossils of elk that run around today, how many fossils of that species have ever been found in North America?
You mean it date back
wherever?
Right.
I'm talking fossils.
Yeah, that's a good question. That's a good question.
It is, and I can give you I can give you a good answer.
Oh,
0.
good. Is that right?
0.
Okay. Yeah.
You have squirrels obviously around your house, probably in the trees.
Yeah, I got some out in the backyard. Yeah, they're mostly up here in New York. In this area, it's red squirrels and flying squirrels.
Red squirrels, flying squirrels.
But we do have some gray squirrels too around. But
how many fossils of that species of squirrels that's in your backyard right now have been found in North America?
Yeah, probably. Who knows? Is anybody looking for squirrel fossils?
0.
Yeah. Well, you know why? Would you know why? I could hazard one guess as to why. And if you think about it, because mostly when things die in the forests, they decay. The bones get scattered, they get scavenged, and and besides the conditions are not conducive to fossilization.
What is this, a Breaking Bad episode all of a sudden?
But
what are we talking about? Yeah. Look, Joe, I mean, that was that what happened. It stays there. Listen, so here's my point.
Yeah.
And this blew my mind when I found it out. And I think it's going to blow your mind equally. Every single living animal on the North American continent right now, every single animal, every single one, there's 0 record of fossilization for any one of those animals. Yep. So every animal that exists in the woods right now in North America that's running around, from a gray fox to a squirrel to a bear to, whatever, like everything in between and above and beyond, there's not one single fossilization record. In other words, we wouldn't even know these animals existed. Any one of them.
Right. Well, think of how many animals
if they weren't here now.
probably have existed that we don't know anything about because they left no fossils behind.
Well, the fossil record is incomplete, obviously.
Yeah.
So, like the gray squirrel that's out right there, 50 feet off my back porch in a nest right now, there's zero fossilization record of that thing. So if it weren't there, humanity would never know it ever existed as a particular species, specific species, right? But because we see them in the trees every day, they're just stupid squirrels, right? They get run over by cars, whatever,
Yeah, they are actually pretty stupid.
Well,
That's how come they bury so many nuts, man, because they're bound to find one if they start digging on almost any spot.
Right.
Because they don't remember where they buried shit. People are like, oh, squirrels will bury, they remember where they buried. No, they don't. They just bury so many of them that in any given spot they dig, they're probably going to come up with a cache that they put under there. But
right.
Although that's kind of smart too, though. It's like, well, crap, man.
But yeah, I just, like, so
just another squirrel trying to get a nut.
Bump.
Yeah. Go ahead, man. I don't mean to interrupt you.
Well, you shouldn't. Again, I say that in jest. I say that in jest. I'm so misunderstood, Joe.
I know.
That's
what happens to all us great artists.
My point is that when people say, or when we start talking about, why is there no fossil record of this branch of what Bigfoot would have to be? If you're thinking about it like on a really high end scientific level, it would have to be some kind of branch like you're talking about in the Homo erectus that even branched off that, blah, blah, blah. Why do we find a fossil record of that? And to that I say, why is there no fossil record of a black bear in North America? Like wet forested areas. Like, I mean, I don't know. The fossil record is incomplete. That's inarguable. Yeah. And we have not one fossil of a black bear, a modern day black bear in North America. So there you go. It's a pretty simple answer. Sorry, I'm stumping. I'm gonna bring Jeff in.
It's stumping. That's all right. I'm just like, and part of it is just it's because look, I take into consideration everything I've ever read as well. As you say, I can only comment on what I observe, and that's what I comment on. But also there's some things from what things I've read, I take in everything. The Indians, First Nations, they'd rather be called, they're not Indians, but First Nations, quite a few of them, say about this species that they were here before we were. And so, I mean, it's like, well, they're Homo sapiens. When they came over, they were the very first Homo sapiens that ever came over that became the First Nations that spread out all over the place. But Sasquatch was already here. So, I take that into consideration. I mean, that's not proof. But, there's a reason for it. So.
What's up, Jeff?
What's up?
Are you coloring in your coloring book there?
Of course.
I was just reading a message.
Oh.
Yeah, North America is not a great ground for a lot of fossils. I mean, it's
it is for older fossils.
Yeah, it is. But I mean, even here in the Midwest, they just had a story where a guy was on a construction site and they'd just done some excavating, and he found this giant, it's a woolly mammoth tooth, and this thing is like this big, right? And it's got all these weird grooves and textures in it. And they continued to look, and there's no other bones to be found. I mean, you hear that a lot where you find the teeth or you find the last to decay, so to speak. But you're telling me the rest of that woolly mammoth basically just disintegrated because of the soil or the type of, it's just interesting how you find them frozen. You'll find them in the right areas with the right geographical or the right geological, covering.
Yeah.
But I'll tell you what, most of North America will eat away bones to where there's nothing left.
Most coniferous forests, the soil's just too acidic for fossils to form. It's a special set of circumstances for fossilization to even take place.
Yeah.
But I mean, like one of the best places still, as far as I know, for finding fossils is of animals anyway, is the La Brea tar pits. They're still digging stuff out of there. But
and
we're finding
it's just too acidic, most of the soil for fossils.
We see it a lot too, where they're like on steep cut river banks as they wash down. You'll see them trapped in the red clays and stuff because, like you said, it's not acidic. It's not the type of material that it actually preserves it pretty well when they get caught in clay. But
that's
a good example of. I'm sorry, Pat. Go ahead.
That's a very extremely unique anomaly with the tar pits, obviously.
Yeah.
And so that's not conducive to most of the country. Of course, the dry, arid areas that have been that way for a very long time. So Southwest, U.S. Things like that. So, dude, nobody finds Tyrannosaurus Rex bones in upstate New York or in North Georgia.
Not that I'm aware of, anyway.
Yeah, or up there where you are, Jeff.
They find them in the Black Hills. They actually found them. The most complete T-Rex, I believe they found in North America, was out in the Black Hills of South Dakota or the Badlands. But again, it was a big carnivorous area, or not a conifer forest, so to speak.
Yeah.
But most of those, the best fossilized environments are like the tar pits, or when you find small insects or even birds trapped in amber, to where it's like almost instantaneous. I mean, as far as time goes, it may have taken months to accomplish it. It got stuck and then completely covered. But, it's not something where it dies, lays on the ground with air exposure. It had to have happened in a landslide, a mudslide, something that preserves it correctly.
Yeah.
And that stuff just doesn't happen that often.
It's like with Lucy. Everybody knows who Lucy is. I think they have an idea of how she got where she was and how it happened and why she was fossilized. And that's one of the best examples of how fossilization takes place, is with that one. It's exactly the same type of scenario you were just saying.
Well, you think about, let's just say short snippet, the last 50 years, what type of events that have happened to where something would become entrapped? I mean, I'd say 99.99% of any mammal or reptile that's died has laid on the ground, is either been consumed or it's been laid on the ground, rotted in the air, and insects ate it and everything else. What has really happened was, how many mudslides or avalanches or things like that are trapping something? It just isn't happening. And, so when we look back and say, oh, this T-Rex we found it completely intact. For every one that you found intact, there had to have been tens of thousands that died and got eaten by other.
Because they think they would eat each other.
Yeah.
One T-Rex would probably eat another smaller T-Rex. I mean, I don't know how they could prove that unless they found, fossilized stomach contents of a T-Rex and say, hey, look, there's another T-Rex in here.
Well, it's like most species, they aren't just going to stand still enough till they're eventually overran by a glacier. I mean, it really takes extraordinary events to be able to preserve something in those ways. But
yeah, and that's another good point. The extreme glaciations that's happened in the North Americas, it wiped out everything. But hey, you know what? We kind of have an expert. Let's hear what he has to say.
yeah, I bet Jorge is about to pop in.
Or
A
he's about to pop in.
geological expert.
And well, he is a geologist, so
Yeah, he's a geological expert.
yeah. So we'll hear what he has to say. What's up, Jorge? How you doing, bud? Sorry it took so long to bring you in.
Thank you for that.
What's the beer of choice tonight, Jorge?
Bell's Two Hearted. I'm going with the classic.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, I've been listening to you guys talk
I have
fossils,
no idea what that
and
is.
a few things lit me up, so I wanted to make sure to get in here.
Sure.
Yeah,
This is your wheelhouse.
Yeah, well, yeah, to an extent, I guess. You guys call me an expert. I don't call myself an expert, but
I'm not an expert.
Well, we grade on a curve here compared to the other three squares on the board. You are the expert.
Sure. But yeah, you guys, do you mind going back to that, Pat? Or is that okay with you?
Yeah, sure. Wherever you want to take it back to. Go ahead.
I guess I'll go back to when you guys are talking about the acidity of coniferous soil and that affecting fossilization. Outside of the most arid deserts, there really is no difference. Most all places are going to be moist enough to have your bacteria, have your funguses that would completely obliterate anything that dies. So outside of, again, most arid environments you can get, that doesn't play a factor, right? You guys are correct. I will definitely agree with fossilization being the result of rare happenstance, right? Amber, as Pat was saying. Jeff, I think you're talking a lot about tar pits, right? But it kind of, I'm not quite following the argument that would play a factor in Bigfoot. Granted, I wouldn't argue the lack of Bigfoot fossils as evidence, because as Pat, as you said, a lot of modern or more modern-esque creatures don't have fossils, right? I mean, I found a modern bear fossil. I threw it in your public chat. There's actually someone sold a jawbone of a fossilized bear from before the Ice Age. But yeah, the how long a species exists before it's noticeably different in the fossil record might just cover the difference in Bigfoot. So I don't think that's a good argument, but the argument you guys are making against it, I wouldn't say a sound either. Does that make sense?
Well, one of the things that I would add to that isn't necessarily the soil or the acidity of the soil. One of the things that I notice in the forests up here in northern Minnesota and out in the Black Hills is that when we say these conifer forests, I mean, primarily it's pine and balsam, and then there's some hardwoods, there's poplar and birch, things like that. But for the most part, when I look at the forest floor here, it's literally got inches of pure acidic thatch over it. I mean,
yes,
the moss and the pine needles, and if something was to die and lay on top of it, versus if it died in a cornfield or wherever in the Midwest, I mean, the amount of acidity that's just in the thatch layer is considerably different in these conifer forests than there is. I agree with
what you're saying,
in like a hardwood forest on a river bottom, let's say in Oklahoma or something like that.
I agree with what you're saying. The reason why I said my piece is fossilization requires such a long time frame that the difference between something, as you said, decaying in a cornfield versus a coniferous, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So that's
No,
like
I've got a deer. I've got a deer carcass that was dead literally about 6 weeks ago out in a cut bean field here that's been laying out there this winter. That the coyotes and everything else have been after. I walked out and looked at today. There's a skull left, and everything else is gone.
I
The
agree.
hoofs, the leg bones, everything's gone. And it's just amazing
Yeah.
that in 6 weeks
It's
this thing can go from whole body to nothing. This is a 230-pound deer,
Oh,
crazy.
Again, I'm not arguing anything. Everything you're saying is 100% correct. I'm saying on a geologic time scale, the difference between the deer in your backyard and a deer in New Mexico probably doesn't matter.
No, it probably doesn't. I
Mhm.
think that the acidity part is probably more. I mean, I guess to be honest with you, I don't even know that it factors in because I don't care
Yes.
if you're in Kansas, Nebraska, northern Minnesota, or New Mexico or Canada. You've got coyotes and you've got predators that are going to eat these animals to nothing
100%.
before anything was to happen as far as acidity goes. You know, it's just hard to imagine that something could actually die and not get
Yeah,
consumed,
and the
whether it's by insects or predators or whatever,
Oh, it does. Like, no, that's a fact. I mean, within 20 years, all forces combined, including the rodents, will absolutely consume down to dust. Dust,
Yes,
even
I
the
agree.
teeth,
Yeah.
consume anything, including a human being. Which is why people go missing, and you might have a location where they might have died, and then 20 years later, you'll never ever find that body. I mean, you won't find anything. You might find clothes, remnants of clothes. That's about
Yeah.
it, dude.
Yeah, I
So
saw a pretty good video of I think it was on something that I think I was talking about it with Doug Highcheck the other day. I saw a pretty good video where they took this deer carcass, they staked it out to
Yeah.
see just how long it took to decay, and man, in no time it was gone, man. First it bloated, and then the next thing you know, all the scavengers and stuff start coming in, and maggots, and you name it. And within, I think it was 6 weeks, there was nothing left of that deer.
Yeah.
I guess I also, since I'm the odd man out of this panel, I'll say I don't think that argument would be a good one to begin with. I want to reemphasize that. I am perfectly fine with no Bigfoot fossil existing and Bigfoot existing. I think that's fossilization. Fossils are so rare to begin with, and finding them is even rarer, and finding them in anything useful is even rarer still. So
sure, it's the problem is, Jorge, and I agree with you just what you just said, and I liked how you kind of flipped the script there. The problem is that the knee-jerk sort of hardcore skeptical point of view is, well, why don't we have any fossils of them?
It's a talking
So
point.
then you have to get into everything we just talked about, like, what's conducive for fossilization, the fossil record's incomplete. There's so many branches of even primates that we know nothing about. Like we may never discover, and so that's kind of why it balances. Like there's a balance to that argument, I would say.
Well, what my whole point was the fact that with, if you want to call it a null hypothesis, whatever you want to call it, my guess, let's put it that way. I'll just use the word guess. My guess about being what, why am I getting feedback?
Don't know, bro. I'm not hearing it.
I am.
I heard it.
What the hell?
I don't know.
Is it gone? Now it's gone.
Yeah.
Okay. No, my point was that people would say, well, it can't be, they'll go Gigantopithecus. Everybody wants that, right? Because there's fossil teeth of that. But I'm just saying that you can't poo-poo my idea, I don't think, right? Because people will say, well, it can't be Homo erectus because Homo erectus fossils that's the whole reason I brought up fossilization. Homo erectus fossils have never been found on this continent. Well, just because they've never been found on this continent doesn't mean Homo erectus didn't make it here. That was my whole point.
Just like a gray squirrel.
I think my hypothesis for that is just as good as anybody's hypothesis for it being descended from Homo. Gigantopithecus. So that was my whole point.
Satch, I would not. So I'm not going to argue. I'm not going to say you're going to wrong. I'm not going to say you're wrong, but to play devil's advocate for that argument, you also can't make the assumption that, say, Homo erectus or whatever did get here. Based on that.
True.
We don't have evidence.
It goes both ways.
Here. Yeah, exactly. So it's kind of, and both on equal footing.
I would like to interrupt on that on Joe's behalf, and I'm not Joe's PR guy. He look, the whole point of this, and the whole point of the show, and the whole point of the freaking subject matter is Joe looked at something standing in front of him about 20, 30 feet in front of him, clear as day. It
was about 40 feet.
He can only describe it. 15 yards. He can only describe it as Homo erectus. That's where he's landed. That's in his mind. He can only explain it as that type of thing. So there's that factor. Just so you know, that's why, that's the whole point of discussing it. Okay. Is with his own eyes, or he's lying. Joe's full of shit. Or he fucking saw something that looked like Homo erectus. That's where he's landed.
We've talked about that before, Pat.
Yeah.
I view there as a third option to where it's a misremembering, right? So I don't want to call Satch a liar. I have no reason to believe that. But burden of evidence, weight of evidence, is it more likely that he saw this incredibly rare thing that very few people have seen and don't have any physical evidence? Or is he misremembering? Because there's plenty of stories you guys would say is misremembering for things you don't believe.
I think there's something to be said also that, and I appreciate this about Jorge because he's taken the time to explain it, that Joe's experience or my experience, although that may get me and Joe to that threshold, our experience can't get Jorge there. And he's explained why, and I get that, because if I was to put my faith in other people's accounts, even outside of the Bigfoot topic, I mean, I would be very reluctant to do that. Mm-hmm. So I get that. But I also feel like naturally when you are trying to debate whether or not something's real or not, or something's possible or not, the position of, well, we have yet to have anyone fill in the blank, so to speak. We have not yet found that. Nobody's yet done that. Nobody's yet. That is, although that may be true, it's just not a definitive stop to the position, because everything we've ever accomplished as mankind the day before, we hadn't accomplished it yet. I mean, so to say, well, nobody's ever done this, nobody's found this yet, or I get that, but yet definitively, it doesn't really put us at a position, well, okay, yeah, I get your point that you must be correct. I mean, there's just so much that is advancing throughout science and discovery that, although I appreciate the arguments, we're at a point where theoretically we can hold really strong positions on either side of this line. Yeah. Factually, we've proven in science just other than those like me and Joe have had an experience who, for us, I mean, in my mind, it's a fact. I can't feel that. But for the general public with the burden of proof, we haven't proved it is or isn't. We really haven't.
Yeah.
How do you feel about the statement, your argument and my counter argument, or your side and my side at this point, have equal weight? Would you agree to that?
Well, I think that the burden of proof is always going to be on me, not on you, when it comes to the positions that we argue. There is no doubt about that. I mean, if it wasn't that way, I wouldn't keep working on as I do in research. I mean, I'm driven by the fact that it's up to me, not up to you, right?
Yeah.
So, plus, I'm also driven by the fact that I've seen it, and now I feel like, because I've said this over and over, had I never had the encounter I had when I was 18 years old, I probably would have quit the whole research thing a long time ago. It gets disheartening sometimes. It's tough. But when you've seen it and you've had an experience like that, it's like, I don't know how to explain it other than this obsessive drive that I can't, like, quitting isn't even an option for me right now. When it comes to assuming that burden of, I've got to try to bring this to the table so that other people don't feel like I can't talk about something that happened to me. So, but when I look at it from your position, Jorge, I look at it and think, what burden do you have to prove that it isn't? You don't have any burden. Your burden is that when somebody like me or Joe or anybody else in this community brings some evidence to the table, it's your burden to look at it and say, let me explain something. When I look in research at anything, at any piece of data that I uncover, I have to approach it with the same tenacity that I'm either using it to support Bigfoot being real, or I have to look at it from the skeptic's point of view and say that's not enough. I mean, I have to try to disprove and prove everything I uncover in data with the same effort and see where does it stand up. I would hope that if I was to bring some effort forward, or anybody, that's the same way you would approach it, or even though the burden's on me to produce the evidence, the burden really is also on you to look at the evidence in a fair, neutral way and say, does it stand up on its own, right?
I definitely feel you there. I would hope, the best I can say is I would hope and expect myself to do what you just said and follow the evidence where it leads, right?
Yeah.
I know I think it's a safe statement to say I don't have any personal stake in this conversation. So I would be a prime candidate for exactly what you're saying. Something comes up, if it's compelling to me, then it's a better argument than would say be compelling to Pat.
Well, when I look at something, anything that I try to analyze from a data standpoint in research, I have to look at all the possible different options. I have to say, what is the least likely? What is the most plausible? And I have to lay them out. What's the 4 or 5 different explanations of what I'm looking at or what I'm analyzing? And I have to use the process of elimination and the process of probability to come up with what is most plausible here. And my thing is if I was in the position of the skeptic and I was going to approach it the same way, my argument would be that to say, well, why don't we have fossils, isn't a valid argument. And like you've acknowledged, it takes a very extraordinary circumstance to be able to actually create fossils to where they're around, for any period of time. So when I look at least likely, most plausible, if I was going to look at it from the skeptic's point of view, the argument of Bigfoot to say, well, why don't we have fossils? I think it's easy to explain why we don't have fossils. But,
yes,
most people, they don't get that. It's a talking point that they glitch on, and they really aren't looking at it as a most plausible, least likely scenario and everything in between. to them, it just ranks right at the top of one of their main arguments, and they don't really put any weight into the validity of what I don't want to say it's ignorance because that's such a nasty word, but it's just lack of knowledge. They don't get it. But
yeah, I do not agree with the sentiment of your point, but if I would say if you're going to rebut what they say, have better talking points. So that's kind of why I came on here to do that little correction, because you're into someone like me who believes the fossils are a good argument, which I do not. You want to come with it with your strong stuff, and the simple rarity of the fossils is a much better argument against that
rather than the acidity or something.
Locations where Bigfoots exist plays up a factor.
Yeah. Still, again, Jorge, that's what they do. They go, well, why is there no fossil record of anything that makes sense to us? And so now we have to become experts in the fossil record, you know, and so it's a double-edged sword. So I get what you're saying, but it's also good to be kind of like caught up to speed on the fossil record. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's very difficult to have an opinion on YouTube because everyone wants you to be an expert in all facets of every part of that opinion at all times. So any douchebag that decides to talk to you. So
yeah, sure.
Oh yeah,
you saw me.
I talked to creationists about geology, and they ask me about every part of geology. When the more you know geology, the more specialized you get in it. So
sure. Yeah,
I claim no expertise or degrees in anything whatsoever. I just have a brain full of thoughts. That's it, man.
Yeah, and I'm glad you're on here discussing with people like me. You know, it's good to challenge your beliefs.
Hey, I understand. If I was in your position,
Joe doesn't have beliefs.
I know you hate that.
None of us here have beliefs.
Phenomenon.
Man. We have no faith in Bigfoot.
But I don't.
It's not a god we worship. Yeah. Just to be clear.
I know.
I'm sorry. I always take exception to that word belief. You know.
Yeah, I you know, no, I get it. That's why I don't. I will answer questions if people want to talk to me about what I saw. Fine, that's okay. I don't hold it up as anything except for experience I had. I don't hold it up as evidence because it's not evidence to anybody but me. And so, I mean,
but
that's
Joe,
it, man. And I like what Jeff said one time. I feel like when it comes to that, fine. You can believe it or not. That's cool. If you don't, I understand why. But I liked what Jeff said one day. He kind of said, and I may be paraphrasing him, I'm one of those people, actually, when it comes to my encounter. I'm not really bearing the burden of buying your ticket on the faith train. Mm-hmm. I'm not using it as an excuse to go, look, they're real. Believe me. I'm just saying this happened to me. This is what I saw, and now I'm trying to just figure out what it is.
I would encourage anybody who's had an encounter that when they think about should I share it or do I want to share it, first just acknowledge the fact that everybody's different. Everybody requires a different threshold of proof before they can subscribe to that thought, whether it be God, whether it be Bigfoot, whether it be UFOs. There's a threshold of proof that they need to arrive at to be able to say, okay, I'm on board with this. And everybody's threshold's different. And your journey to get there is not my burden to put you there. I'll share my encounter. If it helps you, it helps you. If you want to say I'm full of shit, say it. I really don't care. It's not my burden, you know. Yeah. But here's the thing. Compared to other things that we see talked about or debated, let's say, on YouTube, I'll use this as an example. I'm not trying to stir the pot with anybody in chat, but let's say flat Earth versus round Earth, okay? That's debated based on theories, based on beliefs, right? You want to know why somebody can say, why somebody can't say I'm a flat earther or I'm a round earther, because I've been to the edge In the words of David Lee Roth, I've been to the edge and I stood and looked down. Okay. No flat earthers ever been to the edge and looked over the edge and said, okay, it's flat. But as a Bigfooter, I've stood in front of one. I've been to the edge and looked down of the flat earth debate in the Bigfoot community. And that's something that you don't have in a lot of these other debates. Now, you've got very few people who have claimed I was abducted by a UFO or whatever, but I've seen lights in the sky. I've seen movement. I've seen things I can't explain. I don't know that proves it proves there's something that's unidentified there, where it came from, if there's living beings on it, if it's programmed, how it propels itself. All that's theory, all that's debatable. Okay. But when it comes to Bigfoot, when you've had an encounter, it's not debatable anymore to that person. They have been to the edge of the earth and looked over the edge.
So again, another issue, Jeff, if you let me, please. An obvious issue I can come up with responding to that argument is how many other people have this exact same faith to something else that you don't accept, right?
Oh, a lot, I'm sure.
So why is this argument have merit outside of you?
In what
category? Well, it doesn't, Ray. That's why I'm saying I don't make the statements I've just made as if I'm trying to convince you to move 1 inch from where you're at. I don't. I make those statements as an explanation to you as to what makes it to where I can't budge. We're having a debate where what I say to you and the evidence I may in the future bring to you, you could be movable depending on that evidence. But when it comes to bringing me from where I'm at towards where you're at, I can't budge because I looked over the edge. That's the point.
Hey, that sounds 100% like an argument every religious or every faith-based argument has ever made. That to me is
no,
I don't think so. I don't think so. I don't know of anybody that claims to have stood in front of a physical. I mean, you'll hear people that argue Christianity and say, look, I've seen God work in my life. I've seen miracles. I've seen this and that. Unless you've stood in front of 50 feet away,
they don't see God
from Jesus Christ and had him throw a log at you.
I've talked to people that have claimed. I have talked to people,
very few people
with your exact same fervor. Again, I'm not.
And the funny thing about those people, those people that claim that is that most people who actually are believing Christians would say, "Yeah, I'm not validating what he says." Most of them
no, right? And the same doubt you have of that person is the doubt I have of you, and it's both are on equal footing at that point, right? Like you're the individual. There's a better word. I can't forget it right now. But brain bug was in. The fallacy here. But like it happened to me argument is just a low one for people like me, of course. Preface all of this. You're talking to this random douchebag on the internet, right? Having your statement like that just sounds purely.
I think Jeff. I think Jeff and Joe articulate it way better than the examples that you're giving with the Christian fundamentalists, dude.
These people who say they've seen the Christian God at the level that Jeff and Joe.
Yeah, they do it with that face like this, dude.
No,
like,
you can't say that they're lying. You're telling the truth. That's no Scotsman right there, right? You have no reason to call them a liar.
Sure,
but you are 100% sure that this story doesn't do anything for you. So, but that's why
there's a
difference. No reason to call either of those two guys liars, but the story and the way they tell it, 100% conviction. It's still just a story. and I disbelieve.
Well, I agree. I agree with that, and that.
And
gets back,
I encourage you to follow wherever you feel
let's
you
not
need to
compare
lead
it
in your
to
belief of that,
religious
like you
fervor,
say.
dude.
It's that's what I'm getting to at the moment. There's better words. I grant you that. It's the only one that came to mind for me.
Yeah, I don't like the comparison to religious fervor because these are experiences in a particular type of area. So this doesn't happen in downtown Chicago or downtown Atlanta. These happen in wet forested areas with terrain, some kind of vertical terrain involved. Therefore, this is not a religious fucking experience. These people are not trying to have a religious experience. I don't like that comparison, man. That I don't want the people to be thrown into that category, bro. That's not fair. It's not fair.
I get the guttural response. I'm sure there's a better word, but that again is what came to mind.
It's not guttural, man. It's all about fairness. This isn't a fucking belief. They're not looking for 8 foot tall fucking monkey men.
So I think
they see one.
Yes, Pat. I think your argument goes a bit to my point in that I'll keep on this because this is a fun conversation here. The way Jeff describes what happened to him and the sincerity in his voice, and I have no reason to call him a liar, I can say the same thing about XYZ other argument, right? And if you have a problem with Jeff's, for lack of a better word, attack strategy is identical to a religious person's attack strategy, then that shows how bad that attack strategy is, right? Because you have such a hatred towards it, and you're right in your dislike of it, man. You are, but I think that shows the problem with the I saw it as a convincer.
Yeah, but people who have faith, so Christian fundamentalists or Muslim fundamentalists, people who have faith in something they've never seen, they've never truly experienced, it's just a faith-based thing, is 1,000% on the other end of the spectrum, is seeing a purple-winged dragon in the middle of the woods and going, what the fuck is this thing doing here? Those two things have nothing to do with each other.
Again,
nothing.
I'll if you don't mind, I'll go again. That's the point I'm making. You accept that someone's seen a Bigfoot, but you don't accept that someone's seen purple dragon in the swamp. But they're both coming from the same level of evidence, which is believe me because I'm honest. Right?
No. Well, dude. I mean, that's a weird.
That's the point I'm saying. They're the same thing on both sides. But you're biased towards believing Bigfoot, so it's more reasonable for you to accept that. If I said I saw a 1 foot long grasshopper, you could believe that because they don't get that big.
Dude,
it's the same phrase.
I'm going to use two examples here. I'm going to use two examples here that may show where Pat's getting hung up on this. To an extent, I am too. If you took all the people who have claimed to have had encounters, okay, and quite honestly, I've been the first to say out of 1,000 episodes of Sasquatch Chronicles, maybe half of them, I'll just discount right out of the gate are bullshit. Okay, I for whatever reason, it's not that I know that they're being true or not. It's just I have issues with the details or the lack of details, things like that. But when you look at all the people that have had encounters with Bigfoot over, let's say the last, as long as we've been in modern day documenting them, okay, let's say the 50s on, okay, and then you look at the amount of fundamentalist jihadists that believe that they need to throw all gay people off of the top of a building and kill them because Allah's telling them to do that, okay, there's probably the same amount of people in this world on each side of that. But to say they're the same, that they're following the same inspiration, the same science, is absolutely ridiculous to me.
Why is it ridiculous, though?
Well,
I know
because
you
what,
think it
and
is, but
I'll
why?
explain to you why.
Okay.
I'll explain to you why. It's ridiculous because one of them is using a book that they have read and has driven their mind into thinking a certain way, and they've misperceived those teachings and warped them into believing that what is really wrong feels right. Whereas half the people probably that have had encounters never gave one thought to whether Bigfoot was real or not before they ended up having that encounter.
So
That's
Jeff,
the difference.
that argument is a perfect example where the Bigfoot community could provide statistics and make an argument from them, right? Everything you said, you admit is just an assumption. You think it's a correct assumption, but it's assumption. If you had actual numbers there, then that would be a compelling conversation to say Bigfoot is different as a phenomenon than other phenomenons.
It is.
That lends credence to the argument.
But it is. I mean, that's an easy argument to make
numbers then,
on the
right?
fly.
I know you guys don't have the numbers because that's a weird thing
Well,
to ask,
well,
right?
but do I?
Yeah, we do.
Let me ask you this: do I need the
have
exact
six-
numbers to draw
Right now,
this
we have
parallel?
6,000 documented accounts.
Let me ask you this: do I need the exact numbers to draw at least this parallel? People who say I believe in UFOs, for the most part, are looking at lights in the sky that they don't understand. People who say I believe in aliens, how many of them have stood, not looked at a light in the sky, not read something, but stood in front of one and seen it?
Second kind of.
I can tell you there's got to be far less than 6,000, probably not even 600, that can say I stood in front of an alien and can give a detailed account of it. Whereas we've got history telling us of thousands upon thousands, probably 10,000s of encounters, cave drawings of the same thing all over the world, globally, throughout the last several thousand years, that are all depicting the same thing. I mean, these are people who have seen this.
So I'm actually actively looking up numbers for close encounters of the second and first kind to see if we can get some sort of answer for you. But
hey guys, I gotta jump off, Pat. I gotta go to work tomorrow, man.
Hey, nice talking
Gotta
to you,
work, man.
All right,
Work. But thanks, man. Good talking to you.
You're welcome here anytime,
Nice
Joe.
seeing you, Joe.
And thanks for the compliment. And Jeff, good to see you too.
Yeah.
And Jorge, man, don't sweat the petty stuff and don't pet the sweaty stuff, my friend. All right. See you, folks.
I'll take that as a goodbye. Thanks.
Yeah.
So yeah, as I was saying, I don't know where I'd find, because I think first and second is seeing the thing, and third is just seeing the ship. So I'm looking for the numbers of first and second kind, but if there is a statistical difference that you can't account for just by pure happenstance, then you'd have a point. At this point, you have an assumption that your point is correct because you really like it, right? So what is you say 6,000, that's an actual number. What is the actual number of people who have seen a alien in the same way that you would count seeing a Bigfoot, right? Because the PG film, Bigfoot was way far away and they had to zoom in, right? So an alien far away counts the same. So if you actually had those numbers, then you'd make a good argument. Right now, I don't know if I'd call what you said a good argument. Does that make sense?
I don't think it's a good argument. I guess like I was saying, I'm just comparing it to other things that we debate. I think that's which can't be proven at this point, and that's how many flat earthers have stood at the edge of the earth and looked down? Zero. This many have. Zero. How many people have actually stood in front of something that they believed to be an alien I don't know. I mean, I have no clue. I just know how many people, and I mean credible people, who have described encountering a Bigfoot. And it just doesn't seem like they're on the same page of comparison here.
Because both of you, I'm assuming, well, both of you, I assume, are believing that alien sightings are not to the same like credibility level, right?
I'm not saying that. I'm saying that
right?
aliens could be 100% real. I don't have the scientific data to prove that they are, just like I don't have the scientific data to prove that Bigfoot are.
But you can use these numbers in a scientific sense to make an argument. And what I'm wondering, I'm as I said, I'm looking this stuff up as we're talking here. I'm wondering is there something to go off of? Because aliens and Bigfoot are equal levels on pop culture. But
sure.
If so many more people have seen Bigfoot than aliens, which is what you're arguing, that's meaningful. Can you actually prove it? Right? Because if there's more alien sightings than Bigfoot, therefore that would make Bigfoot less likely, according to your logic, right?
Yeah, I mean, I can already go ahead and prove that and shut that down right now. There are way more, significantly way more sightings of Bigfoot than there are aliens. Absolutely 100%.
That's what I'm trying to figure out. Like,
that's what I'm telling you. There's nothing to figure out.
I 100% know you're telling me that.
Yes,
but
he's got to find the Google numbers.
Yes, the Google numbers got to be there, right? Good argument, right? If everyone that saw Bigfoot gave different sizes for his height, that wouldn't be very good. The numbers have to match, right? Bigfoot's always
relatively do. Now listen.
Well,
when you're talking about primates, the people do see juveniles, right? So that's a different size.
Yes.
If they see something in a different size, it's assumed to be a juvenile.
Yes.
You know.
So the reason why I brought the comparison up to begin with was because in my mind, not actual encounters with Bigfoot or aliens, when you look at the signs that people interpret it as the signs as to the same origins of those two, the number of people that say, I see lights in the sky, I've seen this, I've had these experiences with unidentified flying objects, versus the number of people who have seen what they think is a footprint in moss, a broken branch pointing some way. I mean, those numbers are probably pretty similar. The amount of people that go out in the forest and say that could have been caused by a Bigfoot, and the amount of people who see a light in the sky saying an alien could be flying that, there's probably I don't know what the numbers are. I would say both of those numbers are in the shit tons, okay? But when it comes to how many people say, I seen a Bigfoot versus how many people say, I seen an alien, I'm just saying, I don't know if you can compare those two. I don't know.
You can't. There's no comparison.
I promise. That those numbers are hard to actually find for aliens.
Exactly, but they're not hard to find for Bigfoot, which says
I could just be shitty at Google too. I mean, don't feel free to shoot the messenger at this point.
No,
they're
not. They listen. Trust me. Like, I hate to say trust me because you won't, but I'm a skeptic. Critical thinking guy. I'm pretty sure I've proven that at this point. Who swims these waters. And yeah, there are tens of thousands of people who have ran into 8-foot-tall monkey men in the woods, and they don't know what to make of that. They don't have a belief system. There's none of that crap involved. They just see something that doesn't belong there. Like, this thing ain't supposed to be here. And that way, way outweighs anybody that claims to have an interaction with an alien. Like, you're talking hundreds of people versus hundreds of thousands of people. And so there's a real phenomena.
So I guess my point is that has to have some relation to how we approach the skepticism of each one. And that's where I get it. That's where I start getting intrigued by the position of the skeptic and how some are so comfortable saying not possible, and others would look at it and say, you know what, convince me. I'll give you a fair shot. I'll stand in neutral ground momentarily and let you sway me one way or the other. But I say that because I look at certain things that on the surface in my mind, I would say I don't believe in. Okay. Mermaids, don't really believe in them. However, I look at the accounts of them throughout history and all the different historical interesting. I'm intrigued by that. Not saying it's enough to make me believe, but I can't stand here and say absolutely no, even though I feel like I can. If I'm being fair, I'm intrigued by all those accounts and where they came from and so far across the globe and all these different cultures. It's intriguing to me. So now I have to be open-minded enough to where I can't just say no. I have to say, I'm willing to look at it neutrally. Show me what you got. Because I'm not default. No, there's too much intriguing historical stuff out there that I look at and say, oh, it's interesting. So for somebody to look at Bigfoot with all these accounts and be able to just say, fuck no, can't happen, not possible. I don't get where that comes from. I don't get why it's so easy for some people.
Pat knows this, right? You know this too, right? I wouldn't put myself at that level. I know
you wouldn't.
I think that is a poor level, and I agree with you. I think that's a poor rationale to take to anything. Like, there's hard atheists out there. God does not exist, bar none. I've logically and mathematically proved them wrong, right? I don't like those arguments because it seems like you're putting your ego above your argument. And you're just so good at this, that makes you right. And yeah, I agree with you. That's a poor place to come from. And again, while agreeing here, I agree with you that it is your burden of proof. And you both would agree that I'm not unreasonable in not seeing it. So I think there are decent arguments for Bigfoot. And I think some of the ones you're making, I hope you understand that I don't see them as reasonable, right? Well, again, no one's calling anyone a liar here, of course.
I look at it like somebody standing in front of Edison or Tesla the week before they conducted the experiments where they actually made headway on and said, I don't believe that electricity is real because you haven't proven it yet, you know, and I guess that's where I kind of feel like this. I believe the science is moving. I believe that doors are opening. But even if I was a hardcore skeptic who never had an encounter and didn't have any firsthand experience with doing any research, if I was just ignorant of the topic, so to speak, if I approached it and looked at all the encounters that are out there, all the descriptions, I look globally throughout history, all the different depictions in different cultures that had no internet with each other, no cell phones. They didn't even know how to sail to each other when some of these cave drawings were being made. At that point, I look at that and say, damn, I can't say no at this point. That doesn't mean I believe. But just looking at all of that, I say, shit, I can't say no to it. I can't say there's no way.
Yeah.
I have to be open-minded enough to say, I get where you're not there in the proof, but I have no problem telling you you're not there yet in the proof. But to be able to say no, I think that's the answer as to why some people come forward and say, how come we don't have any fossils? Because if they were being honest, they'd look at it like you are and say, well, shit, we don't have that many fossils of really that. The amount of things that have died throughout history, how many of them do we have fossilized records of? Not that many. And so now we start looking at it and saying, if we're going to be neutral and open-minded towards it, you approach it differently. To look at and say, well, why don't we have any fossils? Those are the people that aren't capable of being open-minded because they're using a talking point that has been disproven, or not, I shouldn't say disproven, but has been eroded throughout debate after debate as to why we don't have fossils, or why is it likely that we don't, that they can't give any of that headway validity. They just approach it as a no. And, that's what makes it tough. Like I say, I mean, geez, if I went in the other room right now and told my wife I believe mermaids are real, she'd look at me like, what the fuck have you just been smoking, But if I'm being open-minded, I look at all the stuff throughout history and say, shit, I don't believe they're real, but I can't say they're not either.
Yeah. I'm not disagreeing with what you're saying. How many times have I said that this night? Right?
Yeah.
No, I get it. And I don't mean to ever put you on the defensive, Jorge, where you feel like I don't get where you're at. I get where you're at. I get where you're at.
Yeah. See, a couple minutes ago you were saying like a lot of different things at the same time, and while I don't agree with some of them, which is why I'm on the negative for this conversation, I will say arguments such as the abundance of Bigfoot throughout art history, I think that's compelling. I disagree with it, but I think it's compelling, right? So that is a better pathway to take, and I think the PG film, a couple of other films, are pathways to take that are a lot better, right? Like,
well,
I think you defaulted that for a reason.
Sure.
When me and you, Jorge, discussed this months ago here on Pat's show, one of the things that I had said to you was probably the biggest thing that I would use in a debate is the idea that 10,000 years ago, some guy got hammered sitting around a campfire and made up this story, and somehow it took global hold throughout cultures around the world, depicted in drawing, stories interwoven in lore and legend and history from all these different cultures, starting with one guy making it up. I mean, it does not even seem like that's even a fathomable explanation. And I think that's probably one of the most concrete, compelling points I would make, because understanding that I can't share my encounter with you. My encounter is my encounter. It's not your encounter. But I mean, just the idea of, is it even plausible to think that one person started something that spread into what it is now at the rate it did throughout history, that when communication was pretty much zero back then globally? It doesn't make any sense that it could have.
Yeah. I would not describe my argument as to the myth of Bigfoot in that way. I don't think that like some dude knowingly lied, in the same way that, I guess, to use a religious parable, I don't think that Jesus is a complete fabrication throughout all of history, right? There probably was a basis to something. Is that basis a breedable population of, right next to that threshold of intelligence, 8 foot tall, 8 people, and what? God, I can't remember his name. Pat, I think, one who saw the floppy boobs, right? Like, they have that level of
Pendulous breast.
Huh?
Pendulous breast.
Yeah. One of the dudes, I can't remember his name now, but he claimed to tell there was a female by the breasts. Like, they have that much, they're that close to us, quote unquote, breedable population, and the best we have is Jeff saw them. I mean,
yeah. It's pretty easy to tell a male chimpanzee from a female chimpanzee. So, in anything in the primate world, it's male, females. For us, is easy to look at optically and determine. I mean, that's not a big deal.
Yeah, but we also have pictures of chimpanzees, and we have bones of chimpanzees, and we have people will shoot them, right, and bring back the carcass. So you're talking about something at not the level of chimpanzee.
You don't have to. All you have to do is see a primate in the woods. It's kind of easy to determine if male from female.
Yes, and all those other primates we have physical evidence of, right? But
right,
Bigfoot,
But I'm just saying in general, you're making
all of our tries.
But no, you're making a general point of how could anybody know the Bigfoot was male or female? Because if you saw a gorilla, you know it's male or you know it's female. It's pretty easy to.
If a gorilla was running next to me and I was scared shitless, as I'm sure Pat was, I don't know if I'd pay that close of attention to it.
Like, but I don't know you wouldn't either.
I don't know if I'd see.
I don't know either. I'm just saying in general. I'm saying in general, if you look at a primate, if you're able to catch a good look at a primate in any situation around the world, whatever primate, orangutan, spider monkey, whatever, you're probably going to be able to determine male from female pretty quick.
My argument would be if you were running 10 foot beside another primate and it had a titty flipping up and down right as you looked over at it,
probably female.
Could you not pay attention to it if you tried?
Could
you unnotice it? Could you unnotice it?
If you do not have big floppy gorilla titties running by my house often enough for me to give you an actual answer.
I say it tongue in cheek, Jorge.
I think it's common sense. To me, it just defaults to a common sense thing. It's like I can look at most dogs and immediately, just upon greeting a dog I've never met before, I can look at that dog and know if it's male or female. Like it's not hard to determine primate.
Hey, man, I've had too many beers for this conversation. I don't know. Yeah. I believe you. If I ever see a male Bigfoot, I'll know because my mind will fixate on that part. But
it's not so much about the penis; it's more about the breast.
More about the titties. Yeah. We're all straight men here. I get it. Yes.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
That wasn't my main point, by the way, was that I think my main point is going back to it, which was why this fossil conversation started in the first place. The no bodies, the one picture, the one video from the 70s, all that jazz, I think that's the main sticking point. And then also Bigfoot is a cultural phenomenon. Therefore, there's an argument, there's a reason for people to think they see it.
It sounds like you're trying to explain the phenomena, which
I have a counter argument. I don't just need to say no. I need to say why.
Yeah, dude. All I can say, Jorge, is write a published journal explaining the phenomena. I'm all ears.
I think I have one. I think it's called Delusion? Maybe I don't know.
Brainbug has identified.
Yeah, there we go.
Whoa, dude! You just did you just accuse me and Jeff of being delusional? I think you did.
If you would like to rewind the tape, you can. Yes.
Yeah. No, we're not delusional. We're pretty sharp sticks in our own ways.
I was jesting. I was trying to make a joke. I'm bad at humor. I apologize for my failings.
Hey, dude, it's okay. It's that if you want to you want to come on here and explain the Bigfoot phenomena, which in my mind, again, as a skeptic, critical thinker, has not been explained.
Yeah.
And if you want to knee jerk some, it's just people misinterpreting or whatever. Like, I want to see that written out in a scientific journal. Like, I want that published somewhere.
No, I don't know if so in real talk, I don't know if a study of Bigfoot believers has been done.
Not one.
I'd be surprised. All right, I believe you. There's zero.
Zero.
But I could believe there being a study on claims that end up being false and people's belief in them. And
sure, but I'm not going to associate.
Yeah.
I'm not going to associate other things with the Bigfoot phenomena because I feel those things are way out of place.
I think this is a very good like baseline for our disagreement. Is since I can put Bigfoot at the same level as mermaids, right? I can treat them both the same. And I notice that you find one to be ridiculous and you accept the other when I see no difference.
Okay, that's like me saying because the flying spaghetti monster is exactly the same as Bigfoot, or hey, they're both the same.
To me, kind of, yeah.
Yeah, okay, so I
gave you have numbers, but
yeah, well, so or hey, I saw a flying spaghetti monster in the sky yesterday. Therefore, equivalency, it's just the same as Bigfoot. Nope. Not even close.
Yep. That's our main disagreement right there. You know, to me, if Jeff was coming on here as the mermaid man, talking about how 100% true mermaids are, like I'm seeing double vision at that point because Bigfoot Jeff and Mermaid Jeff, I don't see a reason why Bigfoot would be more reasonable. And then we circle back to the conversation of why is Bigfoot more reasonable?
Well, I'll answer that. And I'm not trying to piss off anybody in chat, but I correlate it with the same discernment as when people talk about Dogman and Bigfoot. Okay. If it as much as the burden of proof is on me to bring proof to the table that Bigfoot is a real thing for everybody who hasn't encountered one. If I was in the position of a skeptic and said, write a scientific paper, I have to write a scientific paper as to why Bigfoot can't exist, right? I'd have a hard time with that. I wouldn't have a hard time with writing a scientific paper as to why mermaids don't exist because there is no evolutionary proof to show that fish and humans or primates have ever crossed paths in their evolution. Same with canines and primates. I can show you where they've never crossed paths in hybrid breeding or any type of genetic advancement in that. But Bigfoot is a primate. It stands upright. It's described in most encounters as having human-like characteristics. It didn't look like a dog or have a fish's tail. Okay. So if the burden of proof was on me as a non-believer or a skeptic to write a scientific paper as to why they aren't even close as to argument. There is no argument that you could scientifically make that shows how Bigfoot couldn't exist.
Yeah, I'll
give you that for your arguments. But if you chose something that more aligns with the fossil record, like an oversized lizard, for example, or an oversized bird, then your argument falls flat again, right? You are at the same level as what was that? The Indian phoenix or whatever, like the firebird I think of, right? There's no reason why a gigantic bird couldn't exist. So therefore, Bigfoot and Firebird, or Bigfoot and XYZ gigantic reptile cryptid, they're all on the same level then.
But in most of those cases, those things did exist.
Again,
in modern day, I'm saying, of course. In modern day,
if I looked at a 12-inch long iguana and somebody said, I saw a lizard that was 6 foot long, and I said, impossible, can't exist. Yeah, they exist.
Exactly.
Komodo dragons exist. You know,
yes,
I mean, you could look throughout history, a bird, but it's 4 times bigger than that. Well, birds 4 times bigger than that exist. I mean, everything you're talking about there are actually realistic examples of it. People that say, I
Yes,
seen
but
something
not
that
in
looks like a
modern
human,
times.
but it was 2 foot taller and weighed 3 times as much. To me, I don't get where the scientific mind closure comes where it's can't happen. I don't get that.
That's what I'm trying to get at, Jeff. If you don't, I'm sure, for sake of conversation, this may be true or not, you don't believe in the Firebird of Native American lore, but you do believe in Bigfoot. Both, as you just said, have existed in nature. So how can you make that distinction?
It's not
Because
a
there
belief.
is none. And then add in every other cryptid you don't believe in.
The distinction is it's not a belief. Like so
Firebird
there's no equivalency.
Where's the PG version of the Firebird that has been proven, ripped apart, not CGI, not digitally enhanced?
So
where's the PG version of the Firebird at?
That's good. I like that because you're saying, okay, if these two are on equal footing, I have PG film, which makes Bigfoot better, right? That's the construction of the argument there. Then you can go. Then I would go into a conversation about the PG footage. Thanks.
Yeah,
for this,
but then it comes down to just debating. But then it comes down to just getting into a PG film debate, which it should just be its own thing.
When you argue the position of the skeptic, and there is no burden to bring anything forth to argue your position, there isn't, because the burden, we've agreed, is all on the believer, right?
Yeah.
If there's no burden to argue the position of the skeptic, then there is no tactic that you could use that you could disqualify. I mean, you could simply say, like you just did, there's as much proof of Bigfoot as there is the Firebird from Native American lore. But no, that's not even a true statement.
Let me comment that. I'm not trying to disqualify, right? What I'm trying to figure out is what is the argument and how accepting is it? I'm not quitting what you're saying.
Trace evidence. We have trace
I'm appraising it exactly, right? And when I look at XYZ thing that I think is an argument in exclusive of Bigfoot, like the PG film, like the cave drawings, like the personal testimony, right? Then I can evaluate each of those individually. I'm a non-believer because I find all three bad. You're a believer because you find X number of them good, right?
No, I'm a believer. I believe in what I believe because I didn't stand 15 feet in front of a Firebird that threw a log at me. I mean, now the day that happens, the burden of proof is going to be on me not to just prove that Bigfoot exists to you. I'm going to have to prove that Firebirds exist. But I've never had one stand in front of me and throw a log at me.
Right? If we switched roles and I told you my story about seeing the Firebird and threw a log at me, and I held the conviction and I was a reasonable person, you had no reason to disbelieve me, you're in my shoes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Look, agreed, Jorge. Anecdote is not evidence.
I agree.
It's not scientific evidence.
But when you start bringing the trace evidence,
never said anything other than that.
If you can bring the trace evidence,
it's enough to make me interested. That's it. I get interested. The anecdote interests me, and I vet the anecdote as best as I can, dude. As best as I can, and it still interests me. So I haven't found a whole lot of bullshit, to be honest with you. There's some bullshit, but there's some reality.
I think one of the things
makes me go, for some reason, there are people that see 8-foot tall monkey men in the woods. Yet that's happening. Why is that happening? I've already accepted that is happening. Capiche?
One of the things that we've flushed out here is really, and Jorge may not agree with this, but how pivotal the PG film was in separating this from being a mythological debate over something. There is when you look at the PG film and other trace evidence that's been brought forward, and then you have to start introducing something else. Even though my encounter as one person who had one encounter all of a sudden is multiplied by 10,000. And we're talking about people of credibility, law enforcement officers, thousands of people who have said, who come from, they aren't crazy. They aren't telling you a story they heard from their great grandfather. They're telling you what happened last Thursday to them when they were out in the woods, right? You start amplifying with that, and we can't have that comparison of the Firebird and Bigfoot or anything else like that, because you simply don't have that type of weight with it. You just, not saying that it's not scientific proof, that or that it is scientific proof from the Bigfoot perspective, but you look at the number of accounts and the PG film and the other things that are out there that start supporting these theories that you analyze encounters as these theories, and you start saying, okay, wait a minute here. I'm not there to where I'm a believer yet, but the idea that I can compare that to a Firebird or some mythological creature of folklore,
I think there is one thing to compare it to. To be fair, there's only, in my mind, one thing to compare it to, and one thing only. And that thing also has no explanation. And that's ghosts. People that see ghosts.
Sure.
I find the comparison between the two like pretty even.
The problem is you're looking at something that, if ghosts are real, which I believe they are, but I'm just saying, if they're real, you're not really, you're talking about something with a supernatural capability. Okay.
Yeah.
So when it comes to me proving that they're real, I don't get to work with DNA. I don't even get to work with photographic evidence, because I don't know what it's capable of as far as the supernatural becoming physical presence to not physical presence or whatever. There are so many things that you start approaching, but I do agree that when you start talking about the amount of encounters and experiences and people's, the way they view it, ghosts are still kind of it's like the one pop culture non-proven thing that people, probably the majority of people, would say, I believe ghosts are real. And most of them have never had an experience with them, but they've heard enough experiences about them, they've seen enough accounts of them, that they'll say, oh, they must be real. Have they ever seen one? No. Have they ever seen the DNA of a ghost? No. Have they ever seen even a good picture that really captures the physical presence of a ghost? No. But most people will say ghosts are real.
So my biggest takeaway I want you guys to have from this conversation is there's a problem with you saying, I don't have a number, but I know mine is bigger, or I know mine is smaller. Like, if you don't have a number, if you don't have a reason for your number, you shouldn't make that argument, because you're just assuming.
I don't know about that. I don't know how many miles are between where I am standing right now in London, but that doesn't mean that London's not there.
Well, it does mean London's there, because it's London, because London is an actual thing. Yeah, if you have a number, Pat, you should use that number. Do you actually have a number of ghosts?
I've already used that number. I've already used it. I said we have 6,000 documented.
Yeah, that's accounts. People who have who have told their story and put their name on it.
So if you don't have that number for what you're comparing it to, then you shouldn't be comparing it. You're just saying there's more than mermaid sightings.
No,
I'm not disagreeing about mermaids. Mermaids is irrelevant. If you don't have the mermaid number, you shouldn't be bringing it up. That's what I'm saying. And hi, Baybug.
Hi, boys. How's it going?
Hey, Brain. What's up, bud?
How's it going?
I heard you all talking about ghost. I was interested in because Jeff said his position on it. You do believe in ghosts. I know,
absolutely.
assuming Orgay is on the same page as me about it, I'm assuming Orgay doesn't believe in ghosts, but I kind of question where Pat stands on that.
No, I was just kind of bringing it up because there are a lot of people in this world that have anecdotal accounts of what you would, call ghost experiences or supernatural ghost kind of.
Right. That's when you all were talking about, no other cryptid or anything has ever been an experience like Bigfoot. I'm like, comparing it to alien people seeing aliens. I'm like, yeah, but when I think about the calls I get the most on the perspective, it's ghost. And then recently I've been getting a lot of Bigfoot calls, but that's because people see me talking to you guys and talking to some other Bigfoot people, and they want to call and talk to me about it. But
right,
we've inspected your following.
Yeah, ghosts are. Yeah, it's okay. I love it. I love talking about it. But ghosts are the number one thing that I talk to people about.
So that backs up my claim or what I was saying.
Yeah. Oh no, I didn't come on to argue that. Absolutely not. I'm in agreement with you that there's a phenomena there. That's there's something going on. I have some thoughts about it.
Knows the good wording. I say belief, but he goes straight to phenomenon. That's good.
Well, that's what I say.
That's good
about
Bigfoot. I've heard Pat say phenomena before. Yeah.
I say phenomena about Bigfoot. So yeah,
because it's sometimes these things are more cultural. You'll see some differences between one culture to the next. In the like say the U.S. we have Bigfoot, and in Asia they have Yeti and things like that. Some different ways that these organisms are depicted, different behaviors and different habitats too. In those cases, and I guess you can see a little bit of that difference across the U.S. The way that they're depicted, the habitats they're alleged to live in, things like that. But in Georgia, though, where a lot of the sightings that I've been hearing a lot about lately, I don't know why Georgia's on the map with the Bigfoot thing. I blame Pat, but the Bigfoots that they're seeing down there are alleged to look more like the ones from the Pacific Northwest. Why is that?
In size, you mean?
Yeah, and in behavior, live in less in swampy lands and more in like open woodlands and stuff.
Well, that's their main. The main territories and habitats that they're seen in are wet forested areas with terrain, like verticality, some kind of verticality in remote areas. Yeah.
Some kind of geographic features that'll help them find concealment, I guess.
You could be also having sightings in corridors, in A's and B's. I mean, I look at, just to give you a layman's explanation, when it comes to deer, you've got a field that has agriculture in it where they feed. You have a tall switchgrass area or a bedding area where they sleep, and then you have a river or a creek where they drink water. Those are the three things they need in life. 90% of the time, you'll find them in one of those three areas. But then there's those times where they're moving from one to the other. And so, when you start talking about, well, the berries dried up from a drought in this particular area, but 200 miles away, passing along this river bottom, they haven't had that type of drought. Now, all of a sudden, you might see movement in a corridor rather than an A, B, or C area. And I guess that's why I would say not every sighting fits for instance, I read where there was a sighting in Iowa. Now, I don't know if you've ever been to Iowa, but it's a gigantic freaking cornfield with a couple hardwooded river bottoms that travel through the state. Northern Minnesota and central Minnesota is heavily forested, and the Ozarks in Missouri are heavily forested. And it could be that seasonally they were simply moving from one area to the other. They had a 300-mile stretch of Iowa to cross to do it along a river bottom. Are there a lot of accounts in Iowa? No. Are there 3 or 4? Yeah. When somebody tells me I saw a Bigfoot in Iowa originally, right away, I want to say, you've got to be, that sounds like the craziest place in the world to see one. But it's not impossible when you start looking at why would it maybe be there. And so the whole Georgia thing, the terrain, like Pat said, I mean, typically, and this is something that Doug Hychek preaches over and over, undulation, forested area or cover, tree canopy, and water. Those are the three things that are going to
And
make
there's
up.
tons of that in North Georgia.
Okay, so just real quick, I was lay this out like a kind of like a syllogism. It's not really a syllogism, but we'll just call it that because that was drawing the cultural, because cultural depictions of these entities, of these animals, where they've been in the wild man image has been in part of culture around the world for as long as there's been people, along with ghost, right? So we have these cultural images, these cultural, dare I call them archetypes, that are passed down through generations and been depicted in art and stories for thousands of years, at the very least thousands of years, probably older than that, but we'll go with thousands of years for now. But these ideas, both the ghost ideas and the hairy wild man ideas, they kind of they have their roots and then they kind of branch off and take on different characteristics in different areas. Both of them do, like in Asia you have the hairy man kind of lives in the mountains, and it's like the Yeti and the urine and those kind of kind of images.
Where they live here too.
Yeah, and then the ghosts, what comes to mind is like the way that the Japanese depict the ghost with the pale woman with the long hair. That kind of cultural differences that show us that this is like an archetype passed down through generations more so than a real thing that exists. Like it's a and I know you're saying that you've seen it. I'm just talking about this.
I think
culture.
I think most people in the U.S. and maybe this is an ignorant statement, so apologize in advance. But I think most people in the U.S. when they talk about ghosts, they're describing what they seen or what they experienced or what they heard or what they felt. Okay. There is no impact on what my grandmother told me, my great grandmother, what I read in a diary, nothing. Whereas I think some of that white male woman, Asian type lore is just influenced into the way they perceive something they're experiencing. You know what I mean?
Well, that's exactly what Brainbug's saying, is that you don't you associate it with your grandma, but then the counterexample is the culture at large. Bigfoot is at culture at large for you. You didn't have to hear your grandma saying Bigfoot for you to have Bigfoot in your mind for these scenarios. In the same way as you was just saying the Japanese would have for their particular style of ghost. A 1-to-1 correlation.
Yeah, it's like there's a cultural, and when you have some kind of experience, whether it's a ghostly experience or a woods, seeing something in the woods experience, your brain is going to try to fit something to it, and depending on what you're seeing, at what angle you're seeing it, and how it's moving, it's going to give you this image, and that's where you get like the way that shadows run in the dark is where you kind of get the shadow people of ghost folklore and things like that. So there's a trigger in your brain that makes you want to try to recognize whatever this does. Yeah.
I think that's overthinking it. I really think that people are seeing what they're seeing. So we cannot explain somebody seeing an 8 foot tall, 4 foot wide monkey man in the woods by folklore.
I'm saying it's by a psychological state is what it's by.
That's a hallucination.
Psychological, cultural priming to have these experiences.
That's a hallucination.
I think what also it could be is somebody in Asia sees some type of a foggy thing in a room and they hear a voice and they say, as they account for it, it's real easy for them to say, it looked like a woman who was pale white, because that's what they've taught the ghosts are supposed to look like. I mean, for me, when I had my encounter at 18 years old, The only things that I was running through my head during the encounter and after the encounter and every day since was that I know that it was, I look at all the species that could physically be there. I know it wasn't a black bear. I know it wasn't a brown bear. I'm pretty sure it wasn't a human being. I'm positive it wasn't a moose, a deer, or any other large game creature that lives in that area that's known to man. And in the end, I look at this and say, I can't find the box in my head of life experience to put this in. Okay, it doesn't exist as I know it.
Right,
Now,
I meant your brain's probably running through all these different animals.
I purge all the things that my life experience has brought me. Now, if I'm in Asia and I see a ghost or hear a ghost and I start looking for the box to put it in, oh, here's a box labeled tall, white, pale woman. You see where I'm going with this? It's real
You're saying
easy.
that you didn't have that prerequisite cultural priming, but I
exactly.
I disagree. Where'd you grow up at? In what state?
No, in the northern Minnesota area. But I also believe that, and here we go, because Jorge, I will let me prerequisite by admitting I don't have the exact numbers. But I do think that the majority of people who have a sighting of Bigfoot aren't people who are out looking for Bigfoot. It's a law enforcement officer who's driving down a road while working. It's a truck driver driving down the interstate. It's somebody out fishing and they ran into this. I think a lot of these people, or probably the majority of them, have that same situation I did, where they're looking for the box to put it and they can't find it.
But are they people who would look at a dark shape in the woods and say, when they flip through those boxes, find that box that checks off, and their brain projects that onto the features of that? Because people will remember seeing things that's how I like when I read about Mothman lore. That's something I kind of talk about a lot. Everything points to it being a scared teenager seeing an owl. The original sighting. I'm not going to get into that unless you guys want to.
No.
But,
well, it brings me back to the comment that I made about the Sasquatch Chronicles. There's like 1,000 accounts on there right now, right? 1,000 episodes. Listen, I'll tell you right now, half of them, they might not be made up bullshit. I think majority of sightings, that when people start describing what they saw and the detail isn't there to support that what you saw was, there was something it did that puts it in that doesn't find a box for it to fit in. Majority of them don't have that, and a lot of them are misidentification. I think a lot of them really are.
Some of them have some weird stuff tied to them too. So when you start digging through the archives, you start talking about teleportation. You start seeing correlations between UFO sightings, sightings.
You get a lot of different calls.
A lot of that's the online entertainment aspect.
I don't know where your true feelings are on that, Brain Bug, but I will say this. I believe that orbs are real. I believe that ghosts are real. I believe that our aerial objects, unidentified aerial objects, are real, and I believe Bigfoot's real. The problem is how any of them correlate with each other or intersect. I have no data to put to that, and I jokingly have said a million times, until I see a Bigfoot fart out an orb, I don't know that the two are associated in any way. But that's not to say I don't believe in orbs. I think orbs, there's something that causes those things that people see,
Are you talking about the orbs in the photos, or people witnessing orbs in the sky?
I know, I'll tell you right now, and I say this because he's claimed it over and over, and it's somebody that I'm close to, and I believe to be one of the most genuine people that I know, that Doug Hychek has sat on his deck with his wife and watched orbs floating around their house. I mean, this guy would, what does he have to gain by making that up? I believe when he tells me about it and the details that he puts into it, that what he saw was real. When I hear people say, well, there's a lot of accounts of Bigfoot and orbs around them. Okay. But there's just as many accounts of Bigfoots without orbs around them. So with that being the case, I don't know that they're related in some way, doesn't mean I don't believe that both those phenomena, as we'll classify them, aren't real. I think they both are.
And they are. Just so you know, Brainbug and Ori, I have 40 minutes of orb footage that I cannot explain.
Yeah.
I cannot
why am I just now
explain.
hearing about this?
Well, Brainbug,
and-
I've got
come
footage.
on my show, and we're gonna look at your footage. Okay.
Okay,
I'll-
I'll bring it.
I'll tell you
bring
an
it.
interesting fact, Brainbug, and this is 100% legit. Out of Doug Hychek has had 9 live cams running on a property in northern Minnesota, filming live, uploading to the cloud so they can go back and recapture anything that's captured. We've got more footage of orbs on those than we do of bears in northern Minnesota. It is unbelievable the amount of orb footage that he has. And I played some of it on my show. I mean, I've actually got one clip that he sent me that shows an orb zigzagging around a tree, and it comes right up into the camera like this. And right behind it, you see another one zigzag the same exact path and traveled right up behind it. The only difference is one flared one way and one flared the other way as they reach the camera.
I'm doing
And
it.
you watch this and it's like, dude, what is this?
I'm
This
doing the
isn't
perspective
ash
this
floating
Tuesday.
in
Can you
here.
call, Jeff? Can you please call? Oh my gosh, that'd be so amazing if you'd call.
Yeah,
I'll
send
No,
you
my
that
my
footage
orb
too, so
footage
you
is
can play it.
better.
I know, but you said you had 40 minutes to go through. I'm willing to look through that with you. I'll have maybe
No,
you
yeah,
and
I
Jorge
can
on
condense it down.
some weeknight later in the evening and see if we can't.
I like the networking, Brainbug. Very, very corporate of you. Good, you're a good capitalist. Any
Oh, yeah,
opportunity to
well,
network.
I like bringing all this is because we're from different communities. Jorge and I are from like this. It's mostly and honestly it's an atheist community, anti-creationist.
Right? Yeah.
That's the community. That's our background on YouTube. That's what we do.
Yeah.
So talking to you guys is a little different. It's a little outside and letting our communities kind of interact with each other. Interesting, been interesting to watch.
It has been.
We have a little bit of trouble getting some of our skeptic people to come over, but you guys are pretty skeptical about most of the claims and stuff that you see. Like if we look at a video together, me and you are gonna probably come to the same conclusion looking at it.
We're probably gonna agree
Yeah.
more than we disagree.
Right.
Yeah.
And I think that our communities could probably coalesce a little bit better if we interacted more. So I want to bring you on.
Well, hey, we're interacting now.
Right. Yeah. We come.
Yeah.
Jorge comes in here more than I do, but yeah, we happy to interact with you guys.
So am I. I mean, I welcome it. It's all welcome here on this channel where I talk about Sasquatch, and I will put up, my own viewpoints and kind of discussions about, what's going on with that phenomena. And,
Right.
But yeah, I mean, yeah, Brain. I mean, I've got some pretty compelling orb footage and I'm an aerial expert, I'll say. Like, I know things in the sky. Yeah, I couldn't explain this one, man.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was
we have explained a lot, like with Doug's videos. We've looked at them, really analyzed this, and have came up with more plausible explanations for a few of them than it being just throwing it in the orb basket. For a while we had the Canadian wildfires going on, and we had a lot of ash that was floating around, especially on evenings that predominantly didn't have more than a 3 or 4 mile an hour wind. I mean, it is almost still, but just enough air movement that if it was catching a full moon or something like that it would reflect weird, and we would start realizing, okay, it is a air drafting movement to it. There isn't a reverse energy. Whereas then you see another one where I've got a footage they sent me, and we looked at this footage forever. This thing, as it flies by different branches with leaves, and this is a big landscape of the forest we're looking at on this camera, the field of view. nothing is moving in the breeze. I mean, it's just still. But as this orb moves around past the branches, you'll see the leaves do this. They like flutter as this orb goes around. And I mean, like flutter, like for the foot around it, it's fluttering. And it's like, okay, wait a minute. Whatever this is, it's giving off energy or wing move at the least. If it's a you know, an insect or a dragonfly or something, it's giving up enough wing movement to maybe make
Squib.
one leaf flutter. But all the leaves surround a foot. I mean, what are we looking at here? At that point, you start realizing
that kind of sounds like a bug. Yeah.
Well,
that kind of sounds like a bug. What I have is like,
hey Pat, before you go, I gotta bounce out and go to bed. I'm already past my bedtime and my beer is running low. So I said thanks for having me on, guys. Good pleasure as usual. Brain bug, you got it from here.
Yeah, we're having fun.
Take care. Thank you.
We'll see you.
All right, Ray. See you, bud.
All right. And then there were 3 talking about orbs. So yeah, I'm pretty good at looking at camera stuff. So camera settings.
Were you going to do a show on Tuesday? Is that what your plan was on Orbs or?
Well, we have the call-in show. It's called The Perspective.
Okay.
We take all kinds of calls about supernatural, paranormal, or theological claims, things like that.
Yeah.
And we kind of like what I come on here and do. That's why this is my sports ball. This is what I do for fun instead of playing sports. Coming on and going back and forth with people about their beliefs and stuff. And I am pretty affluent in ecology and stuff. I grew up. I basically grew up in a Missouri conservation department where my mom worked and spent my time running around in the woods and everything. So
you still live in that area in Missouri?
I could be in Missouri in about 6 minutes if I wanted to. I'm in Illinois right now, but I just have to cross the river. But yeah, I grew up. We spend the summers in the Ozarks and camping and stuff. Great time, beautiful countryside. If you go down there, if you're ever in the down in the Ozarks, I recommend Elephant Rock State Park in Missouri. You want to see some massive boulder strewn glacial fields. It's gorgeous.
Nice. That's cool. Yeah.
There's also Devil's Ice Chest in Columbia, Missouri, which is down by the Ozarks too. I like to go hiking out in state parks and stuff.
All right. Well, eventually, you'll run into the Bigfoot phenomena. Maybe. I'm guessing. I don't know.
I always got my eyes peeled for it. Bigfoot and ghosts don't like me. They don't like to appear for me. And I gotta say though, there was a time where I was really into like supernatural stuff, and I was like, I joined like Wiccan coven and things like that. Try to interact with them because they're like, oh yeah, we can summon spirits and things like that. It's like, cool, I'm down, let's do it. And went to their rituals and was disappointed. No ghosts or spirits appeared. I've joined some ghost hunting teams and spent time looking in haunted houses, and just it all keeps leading to disappointment. Bigfoot was kind of my last straw. And it was kind of like one card falls after another, and it's like, oh man, I love Bigfoot. I didn't want to lose that belief, but I can't make myself believe in it. I can't make myself say it's real. But for a long time, for most of my life, I was like, yeah, I think that there's something physical here. And now I'm like, I think that there's something psychological here. But
again,
I still believe it's happening. I would say Jeff did have his experience. He did experience what he says he experienced. And I don't doubt. I don't think you're lying or not. But I think that there may be something psychological going on there within humankind, not just within you. Not saying there's something wrong with your brain wiring. I think there's something in human brain wiring that's making us experience these things. I think some of it's cultural, some of it's biological, but I think there is something to it, definitely. But whether there's actually this animal out there,
seems to be. I'll say seems to be, but publish that paper. Show me otherwise. Yeah, man. I got orb footage for you, and I'm not talking like right in front of the camera. I'm talking hundreds of feet in the air. Like
Aerial
yeah,
phenomena.
clearly aerial footage of dude, I can't explain it. That's all I know. And I'm an aerial guy. So
Yeah.
there's that. And I'd be happy to show it to you. I'd be happy to come on your program and show it and talk about it. And it is what it is, you know.
Yeah, as long as
We'll
you're
see.
willing to look at it skeptically too, I'm that sounds like fun to me.
I
Yeah.
had talked about this with Pat for a while on my channel. I basically try to approach the topic of Bigfoot from a more of a nuts and bolts research perspective, the tools, the tactics, things that people are using out in the field. Talk about try to get guests who have some research experience and try to figure out what they've done, not just their experiences that encounters and things like that, but what did it cause you to do? What did you go out and do, and how did you do it? And what are the tools that you use? And I started thinking it'd be cool to do a nuts and bolts tech and tools type tactics show that featured maybe a series of 3 shows where we get outside of the Bigfoot realm. I'm not doing it for the shock value or the 3-ring circus type atmosphere, but when it comes to ghost hunters, what are the tactics they use? Do you use a different recorder indoors than you do outdoors? Things like that. What are the different tools and the different ways you approach things? What are do you approach ghosts as ghosts, or are there different kinds or different?
They're using apps now. Did you know that the ghost hunters are using apps, like apps on their phones?
Yeah.
So,
I'm just curious. I'm just curious from the looking at it from the technicals perspective, whether it's ghost hunting, whether it's UFOs, whether it's whatever, orbs. I'd love to do a show full of orb footage and say, let's approach this from that neutral perspective and come up with plausible explanations that what we're seeing here might not be supernatural.
I have the footage.
There are I'm just saying a lot of the footages, Pat, you could look at and come up with a plausible explanation, and some of them you can't.
I have the footage, and it's a head scratcher.
I'm ready for it.
Not explain what's going on. I can't. I just can't.
Well, I told you about
explanation.
the live cam footage we had of a bear walking along, that when Doug sent this to me at 2 a.m. and calls me, he's like, dude, you got to see this. And I'm like, whenever he calls me late at night like that, I know that he's got something that's really going to be interesting to go look at the video. And usually it's a 15 or 30-second video clip. This was a bear walking down a path. There was a breeze blowing, so you could see the different branches moving. There's a live time ticker in the corner to the 100th of a second that's continuously running. And as you see this bear come walking into frame from the top, kind of coming down a trail, quartering at you, it stops for a moment, and its head, like literally, like pixelates, jumps forward from its body and holds there for like 2 seconds, and boom, the body catches up with it. And the whole time, the whole 100th of a second, it doesn't miss a beat, and none of the tree branch movement in the breeze becomes pixelated or breaks time at all. And now I start thinking, okay, wait a minute here. How did the technical glitch occur with the bear, but it doesn't occur with the branch movement or the time counter? And now Doug said people look at it and say, dude, maybe the things like Skinwalker Ranch came through a portal or something. I can't say it didn't. I'm certainly not saying it did. But when I look at that glitch and that part of what that animal does, and it's not occurring anywhere else on the deal, and it's not occurring on the timestamp, I start scratching my head going, what the hell's going on here? You know, it becomes really intriguing. And I think there's a lot of videos like that out there where you can't explain what's happening or what you're looking at it, but you can't discount it either. We're caught somewhere in that confusion of what just happened on that video.
I did a whole stream looking at weird videos like that, with things that just kind of move weird or you're just not quite sure what it is, like they call it the Fresno Nightcrawler. It kind of looks like the sentient pair of pants crossing the lawn. And
this Kevin Morrison keeps saying in chat that Doug's video was analyzed by Jeff Meldrum and it was pollen. First of all, the videos that I've gotten from Doug are literally probably over 15 orb videos. So I don't know what video you're talking about, but I know one thing. The video where the one orb is chasing another orb is not pollen, and nobody's ever looked at that and said it's pollen. There may be a video that Doug has that Meldrum looked at and said is pollen, but this is well more than one video that Doug's captured on his live cams.
All right.
Well, guys, I think I'm going to bounce. It's been fun hanging out.
Yeah, it's
thanks,
nice talking to you, bud. I'm interested in his show Tuesday night now.
Yeah, me too. Like,
I'll admit, I've watched one of his shows. I haven't seen that many, but I'll tell you, I think he's got a magnetic personality. He's fun to talk to when he comes on your show. And I'm intrigued. I'm ready to go back and start looking at some of his past shows just because I'm interested. I'm not, like he said, when him and Jorge come here, this is typically out of their wheelhouse when it comes to what attracts them to YouTube and what they normally are watching. It isn't Bigfoot community stuff. But I get intrigued by the same stuff. I mean, I don't get wrapped up in the do I believe or not believe. I'm just intrigued by a lot of the things that a lot of times I'm intrigued by when somebody says, I've got a video or something. I approach it with that analytical nature of who took the video, where was it taken, kind of that whole rundown.
Yeah.
But it still is intriguing. But
I agree. Yeah, I think I'll try and put that together. I think I'd rather put this orb footage out on somebody else's channel rather than my own. I don't know. I mean,
well, like I said, I was thinking about doing kind of what are we looking at on a video from a technical, let's analyze it. Let's look at it from a neutral perspective sort of thing. And can we explain what we're looking at type of thing on my show, just because I thought it would be cool to it's not that I want to get away from the Bigfoot topic. I wanted to look at how other people who are researching cryptids or orbs or things like this are approaching it. How do they analyze it? How are they filming it? How are they discussing it? How do they, what's really interesting, how do they debate it between the people who believe that orb video is absolutely true? Why do you believe it's true? And if you believe it's not, why do you believe it's not? I want to see how they present those, because it's interesting in how it relates to how we deal with that in our own community.
I'll bring that to your channel too, Jeff, if you want to do something like that.
We just got to find enough orb footage to fill a show.
I have 40 minutes.
Okay, well,
40 minutes. So yeah. I mean, and I'm telling you, Jeff, it's not, I'm an aerial guy. I could tell you the difference between a Delta plane at 10,000 feet and a southwestern plane at, 10,000 feet. I could see the markings on those Delta planes and I'm pretty good at identifying things in the air, speed, trajectory, all that. This footage I have, I can't explain. I have no explanation whatsoever, and it's to me, it's that compelling because I know my own abilities to identify things in the air, and I'm like, I got nothing, you know. Like
I've found when I was back. Remember when I did that video on the different sounds that different animals are capable of making? It was like a 15-minute video I put out just to help people. Realize that what you think a bobcat sounds like, you don't. Are we really considering the whole range of sounds it's capable of? Whatever. I put that video out, but when I was researching that, I ran across a lot of video clips of interesting things. One of the most interesting things I think I watched was, and I will do a poor job of representing what I saw because there's probably people in the chat who know what clip I'm talking about, but I believe it was in New Jersey. It was at a power plant, or some type of an industrial setting where they had all these guide wires, these big long guide wires supporting towers and things. And there was wind going. And typically you have that sound, that whistling sound that comes from those guide wires, right? I'll tell you what, you just listen to what this video has for sound, and they're trying, skeptics are trying to say, well, that's the wind blowing through those guide wires. I'll tell you what, it doesn't sound anything like that to me. And so when I hear stuff like that, I consider it's a neat exercise of the mind that we all should be aware of how to do in saying, one, is it capable of making that sound? Two, I mean, you basically are exercising the whole most plausible to least likely scenario and all the points in between. And you try to arrive at, was wind capable of making that sound or not? Because in the end, I arrived at wind wasn't capable of making that sound. And I really tried to account that it was the wind doing that. I think that helps us when we start seeing videos in our Bigfoot community or audio recordings. And we start saying, well, wait a minute. Before I just jump to, yeah, that sounds like a Bigfoot, let me run my mind through that exercise of what's the most plausible and least likely, and where do I land in that? But
dropping in and out, in and out, in and out, in and out.
Brain bugs, man. We're talking about animal calls and sounds after he leaves. He must have an interest in that too.
He does.
I'm trying to keep up with chat. Derek said he fell asleep, must have smacked his head on the desk and woke himself back up again.
Well, he's Irish, so.
Yeah, it was a hard night last night.
Yeah.
For Derek, I'm sure.
Sorry. No offense there. Like, I'm just goofing on you, bro. Just goofing on you.
Yeah.
No,
we'll look into that. Maybe in a week or two we'll do it. Or
yeah, I can't reiterate it enough, and I've teased this, I don't know, 1,000 times on the show here. And every time I tease it, people go, show us, show us, show us. And then I forget about it. And then it will come back up like tonight, like we're talking. I'm serious. I have orb footage that's absolutely head scratching to me. And all I can hope and pray is that it translates through here.
Why do you not want to show it on your show? What's just so we understand it? Just because it kind of strays from the Bigfoot type thing?
I will. I will. I think I would just prefer to show it on somebody else's show. You know? Because, like, I don't know. Because my feet will be held to the fire a little bit better or something.
When you show it as a host, you're kind of validating it out of the gate. Otherwise, why are you showing it? When you show it as a guest, it's more of a what the hell are we looking at here sort of thing.
Yeah, I mean, which is I mean, that's all like the same. It would still be the same. narrative, right?
Mhm.
Because I don't, like I've said here before, I'm like, I've got this footage, and I don't know what to do with it. Like it to me it's head scratching, but to the audience it might just be, oh, we don't know what the hell we're looking at. It's like,
So it's footage that you took.
no, it was given to
Oh.
me.
Okay, okay. 'Cause I seen Matt was asking what camera did you shoot it on. I assume he was asking you that question. So
This was shot on a cell phone, which would have been a cell phone of yeah, I'm just ballparking, 5 to 7 years ago, technology of a cell phone.
so an iPhone 5, somewhere like that.
And I'm pretty sure it was not an iPhone. It was
Android.
it was a PC phone. Yeah. And this experience happened to that person, and they documented it on their phone, kind of freaking out.
Yeah.
At what they didn't understand what they were seeing, but they had the presence of mind to film it. And that person is a country bumpkin simpleton, very simpleton country bumpkin kind of person. So there's nothing sophisticated about what was filmed that night. It's all genuine. And I can vouch for that, and I can give the story. I can give the whole story of kind of what happened as they were doing it, and it has a cliffhanger of an ending. I could say that.
All right.
Yeah.
So not this Monday night, but the following Monday night, if I do an orb show, you'll come on and bring it,
Yeah.
show it, tell us what you know.
I will.
Let everybody exercise their mind and try to offer an explanation of what they're seeing.
Yeah, sure. I've been dying to show this footage for a long time, and I've just put it off on my own. Like I could do it any night I want to, right? Obviously.
Mm-hmm.
But for whatever reason, I've been putting it off and just ignoring it, and pushed it to the side and said, no, like I don't care.
So hopefully a lot of people in chat will appreciate this, but I'm going to try to start doing Monday night shows instead of at 7 or 8 o'clock. I'm going to try to start later at 9 with the intention of letting Alex's show, because I'm a big fan of Alex's show. We're both friends with Alex. Certainly never entered into a competition with him when I set the time and date of my show, but I'm going to start doing a 9 o'clock start, which is Central Time, my time. So it'd be 10 o'clock your time, Pat. But that, hopefully that will, I've been getting a lot of comments lately. Oh man, I wish you did. And normally anybody else's show, I'd say, I don't give a shit what time their show is. This is what time I'm going to do my show. But I think this is probably where I'm going to make an exception and try to maybe because it doesn't matter to me if I can do a 9 o'clock start and people will come over to our channel after his channel's done. I'd rather not pull away from him and him pulling away from me if we're sharing the same fan base. So,
right. Fans.
Oh yeah, definitely, Matt. If you've got that, we should bring that on because I'd like to use that as a reference for people who would say, well, if that looks faked. Well, let's look at one that is faked. Let's look at one that's fake so people can understand what that may look like.
Again, man, I'm telling you right now, dude, an F-16 fighter jet could pass over my head at Mach, 1.2, and I would be able to look at that thing and go, that's an F-16. Like I know my shit in the air, man.
Mhm.
I cannot explain this. I can't. I just don't. I just had no explanation for it.
And there's audio to it, right?
Some.
But I mean, you'd be able to hear in the audio if there was an aircraft or something like that. I mean, that's pretty
yes.
raw.
Yeah. I've already vetted that.
Yeah.
So it's not that. It's the weird shit, dude. It's it's lights up in the air, hundreds of feet up in the air, separating, dancing around. I mean, it's crazy shit. And then at the end, man, the damn thing comes down right to the 30 feet in front of the camera. It's just nuts. I mean, to me, it's like I have no explanation, none. Yeah.
Well, I'm excited to see it.
I mean, I hate to overpromise. That's my thing. I'm like, am I overpromising? It is what it is. At the end of the day, it's just lights moving around on on the screen. So, I mean, I could be accused of hoaxing, or whatever. It's one of those things. It's like it's one of those things. Like, you gotta kind of trust me on this, Like, I've vetted. I mean, I'm a pretty transparent guy, so I'm not too worried about it. I think people will trust me. And look, I mean, Matt's already trying to not debunk it, but offer alternative explanation. Look, dude, Matt, trust me. Like, again, I'm an aerial guy.
There's some I get to where the knee-jerk skepticism, when somebody looks at it right away, they're gonna say, well, maybe it was this, maybe it was that.
That's what I said.
Then you have to start looking at it and say, well, is there a reverse path of flow to where natural energetic projection wouldn't explain it? Meaning, we know if you're going to shoot up a flare, it's going to go up and then it's slowly going to come down. When you start talking about something moving one way and then moving another way and then down and up, and all of a sudden, okay, we can discount an awful lot once you start seeing certain movement and energy and propulsion. So
I'll tell you this, like, going into it, and we'll probably have this discussion again in the future if I, present this on your show, is that I went into it going, okay, whatever. There was fireworks. Somebody shot off fireworks over the lake. I mean, like, you're a country bumpkin idiot.
Those those lanterns that people light with a little fire and that float around it, boy.
Or maybe somebody was flying a drone. You didn't know what you were looking at. I totally approached it like that. Like, you just didn't know what you were looking at.
Mm-hmm.
And then they showed me the footage, and I went, oh, shit. I don't know what this is. Like, it's nothing that I thought preconceived coming into it. Like, I know what drones look like. I know what fireworks look like. I know what flares look like. I know what F-16s look like. I know what all that stuff look like. And this is nothing like that.
And what Matt just said, he agrees. He was just making a point that, stuff can be fake. I would agree with that. Can you imagine? Just imagine for a moment on a night that's heavily cloud covered, no starlight, no moonlight, away from any street lights, or it's just pitch dark. If you had a little bit, enough of a breeze, 10, 15 mile an hour wind overnight, if you took a kite with a long tail and every foot or so on that tail put an LED light, just a little diode of an LED light that maybe even switches colors, and you start flying that kite and filming at night, what the heck? That would be crazy. I mean,
It would. You're right, and I mean that might confuse me for a minute, but I
It would,
guarantee you,
yeah.
I would
Eventually,
figure
you're
it
going to
out.
figure it out.
Yeah,
You know,
I'd figure it out because
the tail's going to pass behind the kite as it turns a
Yeah.
certain thing. So you're going to be like, okay, there's another thing out there that's not lit up, and it's erratic movement. Okay, this is a kite. I mean, you're going to eventually nail it down, but
yeah, I will. But I've looked at this many times and I can't nail it down. It just makes no sense. And I guarantee you, I promise you, like all I can do is come and give the anecdotal promise, right? That the person that gave me this footage is not nowhere sophisticated enough. Nowhere to ever pull my chain with any kind of like whatever CGI or any
So-
kind of hoaxing capability.
I
Yeah.
read Raptor's comment where he says Chinese lanterns can raise or can also tie string on them and make it look like a giant spaceship too. Now I've got my creative juices flowing. This would be funny. We put out a 30-day challenge of people to fake an orb video. Try to do your best to fake an orb video and then submit it to us, letting us know it's a fake video.
Right.
And I'd love to do a show where it has like 10 faked, the best of the best, 10 faked orb videos, and then embed 2 or 3 in it where they weren't produced and sent to us, but they are ones that we don't have a plausible explanation for, and see if people can figure it out. Because I think what you're going to show is just what you've been communicating, is that people are going to be able to tell which ones were faked. I think a lot of them you'd be
This
able
shit's
to,
crazy.
if you're really analyzing it well, you're going to be able to tell which ones are fake. And then the ones that really are like, what the hell is that? I would think they'd stand out, wouldn't they? I mean, I know Matt's really advocating that, look, dude, you could fake a good orbit, but it just seems like if you had a contest where 10 faked orb videos and 2 or 3 real ones.
Again, man, I don't want to oversell it, but this is the kind of video where it's like one light up here, and then it becomes.
Well, don't give it away. Don't give it away.
No.
But you're saying that without doubt, you could not fake this. If right now I gave you $5,000 cash to recreate what you've got on video, you couldn't do it.
You could with CGI.
No, I mean but we could tell if it was a video. We could tell if I had the original video. I'd know that you did it with CGI. I'm talking about really make it look without digital enhancement.
No, yeah, this one light shoots off 4 other lights, and then they do this formation, and then some of them come back together to the original light, and there's some dancing, like, and at the end of the video, here's the fucking punchline is at the end of the video, one of the damn lights comes down right in front of the camera, 30 feet in front of the camera.
Wow.
And like, I see a weird, I could almost draw it, structure to that light. Like, yeah, I mean, dude, it's head scratching shit. I just can't explain it. I don't know what it is.
Kevin saying we have wind currents at night also, and the cameras pick up on the traces. It's not just wind currents. People who are really into bow hunting, like I am, that hunt like gulches and valleys and things like that, you start understanding the way thermals work in the mornings and in the late afternoons, how there doesn't have to be any wind, and scent or ash or anything that's really light will actually carry up the hill late in the afternoon, and in the mornings carries down the hill just because the thermal changes,
Sure. But all I'm talking about is what I have. Yeah. I'm not saying it was aliens. but it was aliens.
Yeah.
Winky face. And yeah, I mean, again, Matt, like, cool. Like, I get what you're saying, dude, and you're right. Like, me and Matt and Jeff and my friend Brendan, we could all come together and we could produce some fucking shit that would blow people's mind. And it was all produced. Like, I get that. All I'm saying is the shit I have is from somebody that is so fucking dumb. There's no way in hell that they could ever fool me.
Now you're never going to be able to source who it was from either publicly because you just called them fucking dumb.
Oh yeah, they're a country bumpkin idiot, a complete fucking moron.
Everybody's in chat going, God, who could this be that he's talking about?
Nobody that anyone knows.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, nobody from the Bigfoot world.
Yeah, Matt says this is a great setup of the video.
And see, that's the thing is that honestly, I'm afraid it's a horrible setup because I feel like I'm over promising here. Because at the end of the day, it's just all you can see is lights moving around. Yeah. And I get it. Like the same kind of shit I would say to somebody who showed me that, I'd be like, well, I don't know what I'm looking at. You know?
Well, there is also that whole Pat's not representing some burden of proof here either. I mean, Pat's bringing forward a video that was given to him, admittedly shot on equipment that's not,
not great
high-end industry equipment. Somebody who evidently doesn't possess the post-production capability to fake something like
not
this.
At all.
And so what Pat's saying is what I see, I don't really have a plausible explanation for it. Now, to me, that's not overhyping it. That's just being honest, So.
We'll never see it. Donald's like, we'll never see it.
We're going to do it. We're going to do it a week from this Monday. Monday night, I'm going to share my encounter story on my show, but the following Monday, I'm excited now.
I mean,
you're going to bring a threshold of excitement to there, but there is no burden of proof or validating that what you're seeing is in fact 100% this or that. It's just something you have a hard time explaining. And I think that's cool that you're willing to share it.
And I am. I mean, because it's it was one of those things. Again, I don't know. I don't know why I've avoided it, even though I've touched on it over the past year. But then it just becomes irrelevant to me. I'm like, whatever. Yeah. But then orb stuff comes up, and I'm like, but I have this great orb footage. I keep forgetting. I'm not kidding you, dude. I keep forgetting I've got this fantastic orb footage. And so again, I'm like, am I overselling it? Dude, where I got it, like, again, the story comes in. Like, the whole story is a part of it, And so now everybody wants to see a little bit of it. And I don't even know that I can pull that up. I could try if you give me 2 minutes.
Well, you gonna give them a sneak peek?
I can try. It'll take me a couple of minutes to pull it up, though. You know what I mean? And I don't know what, dude, the whole show might crash with me even trying to share it. I know that sounds like a lame excuse. Remember, I have no internet tonight. This is all off cell phone data. I'll just Look, I'll turn the show over to you, Jeff, for 2 minutes.
Okay, that's a lot of pressure, but
Yeah. Just read chat.
I am. I'm reading the chat. Derek says, I avoid my ex-wife like the plague, to be honest. Not sure what that was in reference to. Donald says, did this country bumpkin get hoaxed by someone else? Fair question. Fair question. But then we'd have to assume that what we would see on the video is something that could be hoaxed. And I know we start talking about the capability with post-production, but I mean, again, then you start factoring what's likely and what's plausible or what's least likely. And I guess I don't know this person that he got it from, but if they had a Samsung LG3 or whatever 6-7 years ago and they filmed this, I would say their capability to purposefully manipulate it would be slim, but there is a lot of room for error in how that camera can malfunction with back then. I mean, you're probably talking like what do you suppose? Maybe a 3 megapixel camera. I mean, I don't even know what it would be, but we are willing to take. And Derek says, I see Jeff is still wearing his buffalo cow hat. Yes, I am. I wear it a lot. I've got about 6 or 7 different hats. This seems to be my go-to one. I don't know why. I really don't know why. A lot of people choose a hat because of what's on it or the color. For me, it's just how it fits my head. It just feels right, you know. Derek says, in all seriousness, there are lots of phenomenon in the sky. Now, that's true. That's true. And Matt says, if the video is that old, it could be grain, noise, dust, bugs, moss, snow, just to name it. Yeah, there's some truth to that. I mean, even with the modern cameras, the high 4K cameras that with infrared on them that Doug uses on his live cams, it just a dewdrop on a lens a micro droplet of dew on a lens will look like an orb, especially if you were moving the camera around as you were filming it live. But there's a lot of things that you need to consider as far as what it could be other than an orb if you're going to approach it from a neutral perspective. But doesn't make me any less intrigued to see the video. So Pat is turning 50 tomorrow. Is a strange phenomenon to me, Squatch Baits. Now here we go. Here we go. Finally, a nugget of information that is useful to this community. Tomorrow, Pat is turning 50. Is that what you're saying, Squatch Bait? That is crazy, crazy. He doesn't look a day over 35, probably 30, 37, although his music knowledge identifies that he could be 50. So, crazy. Yeah, everybody's saying happy birthday, Pat. Well, I wonder what we should throw him a surprise YouTube birthday party is what we should do. That would be fun. Let's see. I didn't know you could live that long, Matt says. Grass says, I remember 50 long ago. Oh. So, yeah, you're right, Derek. Technically, over there in Ireland, Pat is already 50. I always thought, these are the kind of weird thoughts I have sometimes. What if you took a woman who was about to give birth, put her on a jet? I had this idea back when, like, the Concorde or, these really fast jets. You put her on a jet, she gives birth to the baby, okay? The baby's born at whatever time it is and whatever time zone you're in at that point. And then you fly reverse direction over the international date line. Now that baby can be negative 1 day old. Has anyone ever done that before? I'd be curious. Derek says he's 50 at the end of June. Squatchbait says 50 is the new 30. Well, you got to say that, Squatchbait, because you are his Squatchbait. So Grass is after 50. It's all downhill from there.
All right.
So you're going to be 50 tomorrow.
Correct.
Guess who told us?
Yeah, I'm technically right now. I mean, yeah.
Oh yeah, so you're East Coast time, so you're
Eastern
12:21 there.
Yep.
Well, congratulations.
Thank you. Thank you.
Congratulations.
Yeah, I made it. Yay. All right, so I'm having a hard time finding it, guys. Sorry. I can't preview it. No, I'm kind of getting worried that I may not be able to find it. Like, I was really having a hard time finding it.
Is this source still alive?
Yeah, it's not a source that I'm going to interact with.
No. Did they send it to you originally in an email?
Yes, it's in an email.
Just got to find it.
Yeah, but I was having a really hard time finding it. So we'll see. Maybe it's because I'm 50 and I can't find things that well anymore. Yeah. I'll find it.
I have faith. I have faith you're going to find it.
Thanks.
If you don't, you don't. Yeah, that's not like you discovered the cure for cancer and then you lost it, like Sean Connery did.
Right. Yeah, we'll see. Damn. Okay.
Donald Fuller says, wait a minute, Pat's younger than me?
Thanks, Donald. Appreciate that.
Kevin says, I'm 59 and I can't remember what I ate yesterday. My boys are 16, 17. They come home from high school and I say, this is 3:30 in the afternoon. I'll say, what'd you guys have for lunch today? And they'll stand there thinking about it for 2 minutes. They can't remember what they ate for lunch. What the hell did you do at school today? You can't remember what you ate for lunch.
Right.
All right. Well,
yeah, man.
I'm gonna call it a night, and
let's bail.
I'm gonna start going through Doug's orb footage and round up some. Hey, if you've got some orb footage, you can go to my channel and find my email and send it to me. It's on my channel. Love to, and I'll make it a part of the show if it's some intriguing footage. I'm not the orb footage police or anything, but I mean, if it's intriguing and it obviously doesn't seem to be fake, I'd be willing to share it. Or if you've got footage, you can come on. Maybe we'll throw the link up and you can pop on and share your footage when you come
What,
on. Or
dude?
tell
I
us what
gotta
you're
find.
seeing.
I gotta find this stuff. I'm obsessed now with trying to find.
Yeah,
Like
you probably won't go to
I'm
sleep
afraid I
now until you
lost
find it.
somehow. I lost it. Like I don't get that. I'm really confused. I'm really confused.
You'll find it.
Yeah.
Squatch bait will help you.
Yeah. You're gonna help me, right? She's gonna help me.
Is it on your phone somewhere? Is it on your phone?
No, it lives in an email.
I would, as I say, you could hand her your phone and say, pretend another girl texted me a picture that you wouldn't want her to send, and now pretend that's the email I can't find and find it.
Well, she
would find the right email probably within a few minutes.
The funny thing is that my phone is in her hands right now. That's how
because you're using her phone here.
That's how she's talking in chat. So she
Oh,
has full access to my
full
phone
access.
right now.
That's
anyway.
the type of relationship you guys have. That's it. That's wow.
Yeah,
That's full. That's full openness there.
Absolutely, I'm transparent. All right, let's wrap it up, Jeff. I'm gonna look for the. We've teased everybody now. Everybody's like, show the footage. Like, okay, I'll look for it. I promise. I'll look for it.
So what do you got planned tomorrow for your birthday? What are you guys gonna do?
Absolutely nothing right now, other than I'm gonna sign up for a free Moe's burrito. I don't know. I think we're gonna go out in the woods, go hiking. Yeah, we're gonna go for a little hike tomorrow, out in the woods. We're not looking for Sasquatch. I'm gonna do this. See, guys, when I go out the woods, I do this. I'm like, no, stay away. I actually don't want an encounter with you. I'm out here trying to enjoy my day with my girl and my dogs. We're having fun. I don't want you.
All I hear when you say this is I just keep thinking about the Leon challenge.
Yeah, well, that's different. That's different.
I know, but it's that same reasoning that's the root of it, really.
It is, but it's like this. It's like, no, I'm just trying to enjoy my day. Stay away from me.
Yeah.
Please.
Pack a little lunch, bring a blanket. Don't need any squatches showing up.
And that's when they'll come around, of course.
Yeah.
They'll come around and go, rah, rah, and I got to go, rah, rah, back, because that's exactly what I'll do. I'm not going to put up with any of their bullshit. These researchers that piss their pants, man. They just yell back at them, man. Like, goddamn.
You guys will have fun. It'll be nice.
Yeah. No, we'll do something.
Squatch can give you your birthday spankings out in the woods where nobody will hear you screaming, and nice little private moment.
We got it. Well, we got dogs.
Oh, you're bringing the dogs with?
Oh yeah, we gotta take dogs.
Well, you'll have all kinds of squatch bait with you then. You got her, you got the dogs. These squatches all over the damn place.
Are you kidding me? These two are not squatch bait. They will kill a Sasquatch. I'm talking 8 foot tall, 800 pounds. These two little things right here, they will nibble them down from the ankles all the way up to the head.
You see Slackmate's advice to you. He says, eat the burrito after the hike.
Of course. Yes. I'm going to burn some calories, eat the burrito. It's all going to be good. It's going to be fun.
All right. Well, you guys have an awesome night. Happy birthday. If I don't talk to you tomorrow, happy birthday. I have a feeling I'll probably talk to you tomorrow night.
Well, thanks, bud. I appreciate it. And we'll talk tomorrow.
All right. We'll see you later.
All right. Later, man. Hey, everybody. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being here. I appreciate each and every single one of you. We had no Russian bots attack tonight. That was good. That was good. So there was no crazy management that had to be had tonight. Interesting show. A lot of gear switches. I like that though. And yeah, man. It was fun. And I pulled it off with no internet. So thanks for watching. It's good to be back. I know I missed a couple of shows, but we'll keep it going. Lots coming. I promise. Yeah. See you guys next time. Later.